Be my
Cut.
standard.
Don't get caught. Google it.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Smith Radio with your host, Brian Smith, along with
Kerry Smith,
giving you all the late-breaking news of the week to wrap it all up for you in a nice, pretty pink bow. It is May 3rd, and I want to tell you, everybody, right now, Happy May Day.
May Day?
This is the day that the communists wanted as a holiday, socialist holiday,
This
May
day? May 1st, May 2nd?
Yeah, 3rd, 5th, Cinco de Mayo, wrap it all up.
Just what? Well, the thing is May Day, first of all, would be a distress signal. But,
Correct.
But when I hear the word May, when referring to a month, following it with day is like, okay, what day?
Well, the Socialist Party wanted a May Day, a day for, I don't know, violence and overthrow, things like that. So, on this May Day, I wish for all of you to take a moment of silence and recall the millions, hundreds of millions of innocent lives that have perished under socialism and communism in the last 100 years.
Millions and millions. Yeah. And forget about the deaths, the murders that take place under these this completely terrible form of government. It's a fact that communism spreads more poverty worldwide than anything else.
Oh yeah.
They say that
capitalism has raised people out of poverty more so than any other single idea ever handed down by humankind.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely, definitely.
So what is on the plate today? Well, I will have to say last night was a anticlimactic if you're a boxer.
Not much of a barn burner.
No, I tried to get it on for free.
I did too.
Front Row Sports, and it
We're
worked.
going to prison.
It worked, but it kept skipping on me.
I failed completely. Some of the links that I found that and the reason I used to pay, I've spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars over the years buying pay-per-view for boxing because I'm a big fan. And when they hit $50 for a pay-per-view, that's when it started really irritating me.
Now it's $100.
Well, you're getting ahead of me.
Oh, so sorry.
When it hit 60, I said, "Man, if this isn't a good fight, I don't know if I'm going to do this anymore." And it hit 60, and it was one of them fights where it's like, this really didn't feel like it was worth it. Now, you would think, because it used to be 40. 40 was like the standard.
$39.95
Yeah, it was for like almost 20 years, $39.95 was about the standard. And it wasn't until recently, I think it was the Lennox Lewis versus Tyson match. Right. That was like the fight of the millennium.
Right.
And there was a lot of buzz on that one. And they figured, hey, let's pop it up $10. I think we'll get it.
$49.95.
Right. And that was, I believe, I might be wrong, but I believe that was the first time in like 20 years that they said this is a good time to set a new standard. I just thought, it was going to be $50 just this one time. No. When you raise the price of a pay-per-view fight, you don't go back. It's like taxes.
Exactly.
It's just like
exactly. We're going to raise it 1% just for the stadium to be built, and then we'll reverse it.
Yeah, once it's paid for, we're good to go. We'll bring it back down.
It'll never be paid for.
Never. So anyway, they raise it up to 50, and I was like, all right, just because it's Tyson versus Lewis, and I'm not going to miss this.
Right.
Period. So I paid it, and from then on, it was $50 for every fight. And then when they raised it to 60, I said, I don't know if I'm going to do this anymore.
$59.95.
Yes.
Oh.
Now, here's the funny part. For some reason, for Mayweather and the way they were really drumming up interest in this fight, I assumed that, they're probably going to bump this up from 59 to 69.
Right.
And that's just gonna be the straw.
New standard.
That's gonna be the straw that broke the camel's back. There's no way I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put my foot down and not do it. So I was asking around. I was like, well, I know it's probably 60, but probably more. I think
Maybe 70.
Probably 70. So I started asking around about it, and they were like, $99. I was like, no. So I said, that's okay. BW3's always has it, and if not BW3's, there's a whole bunch of bars all over Cincinnati. So I sent my wife out on a mission to call all these different places to find out who's showing it. And she reported back to me. She's like, I don't think you're going to be able to watch it. It's nowhere.
What?
And I was like, she said, I even resorted to calling B-dubs because I knew they would have it. Because she called these...
everybody first and then B-dubs last.
Yeah, because B-dubs are just annoying.
Right.
So it turns out she called an old friend of hers who owns a bar and grill, Wild Mike.
Oh, yeah. Oh, she knows Wild Mike?
Yeah, she went to school with the whole family.
Wow.
So he's like, I can't have it. I wanted it. He's like, I was totally going to have it. So what happened? Well, it turns out if you own a bar and you want to show a pay-per-view fight in your bar, it usually costs anywhere from $1,250 up to $2,500 to show it.
Okay, so $1,000 to $2,500. Somewhere around there.
$1,250.
Okay.
$1,250 all the way up to like $2,500.
Depending on the show.
Yeah, depending. Okay. And also, they want to know how many people that your bar seats. So if you have like one of those giant bars downtown, where you
500 seats
or 1,000, yeah, you cram 1,000 people in there. They want to be able to charge you more, which I think is fair because if you're going to charge like a cover and stuff like that, right. So it makes sense. Well, turns out Wild Mike's is at the lowest spectrum because the lowest is 100 or less, or I think it's 99 seats or less.
Yeah, they definitely have less than 99.
Right. So he goes to the lowest threshold.
Okay.
He said that they wanted $5,000.
No!
I'm not kidding. $5,000 to show it at Wild Mike's for 99 or less.
No.
Now, if he had the maximum allowable seats in there, let's say 100, he would have to charge. Was it $50? $50?
Yeah.
Yeah, $50. But he would earn money off of beer sales and stuff like that. If he but $50. Here's the thing: if it's $99 at your house, all you need to do is have you and 2 friends come to your house and chip in on it, and it's less than going to Wild Mike's, and you get beer for less. You just go to the grocery store.
Wow.
So why would you even do it? So he would have to take a loss on the fight and then make up some of it in beer sales.
I think this was a big debacle for them because
it was
billed as $105 million purse.
Right, and that's why. So here's the conundrum they were in. We need to charge an arm and a leg for it in order to recoup. Problem is just like taxes. Just like taxes, there's a certain point where if you raise the taxes to a certain amount, you get less revenue.
Right. Less revenue for the amount of taxes.
What did you throw at me?
There was a stink bug flying
and
around
you
here.
Threw it at me. That's it. Ooh.
Right in the carpet.
Yeah.
You did. The wife's listening.
Oh, is she? You might need to. Might need one of them scrub brushes and some OxyClean.
So then, what's the deal?
So, as soon as I started,
they still have to pay out the $105 million, though, right?
Oh, it's guaranteed. There's certain payouts that are guaranteed. Like
somebody's going to lose.
Yeah, somebody's going to lose out. So, for instance, the pay to the boxers is generally guaranteed, except for the fact that they also get a percentage of buys of pay-per-view and stuff like that. But check this out. Right before the fight went down, all kinds of reports started coming out that the sales of hotel rooms in Vegas were way down.
No.
Way lower than they were expecting. Well, it was because they wanted $500 a night for average.
Because of the...
Oh! Well, there was Derby. Derby this weekend.
Kentucky
which,
Derby.
By the way, if you're a fight promoter, why would you pick that
Kentucky
day?
Derby weekend.
Well, in a way, they might have actually helped themselves. Because the Derby's early. It's like
in the
afternoon.
Day to get everybody ramped up.
So everybody goes out to the Derby thing, and as soon as it's over, you're like, well, now what? Oh, there's a fight tonight. So actually, maybe that was a good thing. But anyway, sales for hotel rooms at Vegas were down.
Wow.
And this like Thursday I heard about this. And when I heard
What a
that
mess.
Yeah, so I thought, "Oh my gosh, they really are
I
screwing
hope
up."
they really
Somebody
learn
lost.
a huge lesson from
Well,
this.
Mayweather and Pacquiao are going to get all of their money regardless. Period.
Okay, so help me out here, and I'm not sure if you know the numbers. If you get paid to lose, if you lose the fight, you get paid.
It's always on the come in boxing.
Okay, so if I'm on the come,
Yeah, and by the way, that means that's a play on the game of craps.
in the game of craps, there's the come line.
Right, and if you put your money on the come, that means that you're hoping that will win on a future roll.
Right, not the money shot, the future roll.
I mean, if you roll a 7 on the come, then it is. So yeah, the first roll's not the money shot, unless you roll a 7 or 11. If you roll a 7 or 11, you get the money right away.
Oh, that would be a money shot.
That is definitely a money
payday.
shot. Big payday. Big money shot.
So, so if you're a boxer and you sign up, you're guaranteed X amount of dollars,
regardless whether you win or lose.
Now, if I win, I'm Pacquiao,
and
I win, how much more would it be?
It sometimes, especially in these really big mega fights like this, sometimes it's not any more.
Right.
But here's why. I know it rubs a lot of people the wrong way. Here's where the big money comes from when you win as opposed to losing. Because Mayweather won. Oh, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. In case you didn't.
Whoa.
In case you're not watching the news. In case you live in a cave with the Taliban.
Okay. In case you live at the bottom of the ocean with Osama bin Laden.
Whoa. If that's really where he is.
If that's really his name. But anyway, so no, unless so if you're Mayweather and you won, the big money is that he gets to box again for another big payday because he's still undefeated. He just came off of a win. He has all the belts, and so he will be fighting to defend his title again in probably another big pay-per-view fight. So that's where the come is. So by him winning, he gets the payday for the next fight. Pacquiao, having coming off of a loss, I mean, he's not, as far as I'm concerned, he is done. He may fight again just for small payday, but even though he's got a huge following, so he's going to get a big payday regardless, it's nothing like if he had won. Had he won, his next payday would be enormous. Right. So, and it's just like that guy that beat Lennox Lewis back in the day, The Rock, Hasim Rahman. He was getting paid like $100,000 to box Lennox Lewis in a title fight, and he was a huge underdog. He beat him, only got his $100,000. His next fight was millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Wow.
So that's where
that's where the payday.
Yeah,
that's where the money shot.
Okay,
is.
The money shot's there.
So, well, the reason why I bring this up is because Pacquiao came out and made a statement early this week about the fight.
Okay, what did he
say?
And
about the money.
All right.
And he said, if I win this fight, but he's speaking in Spanish, so I'm translating.
It's not Spanish. He's Filipino.
Wow!
Well, hey, let me tell you something.
Is he from Mexico?
No!
Dude, this guy at work was like, hey, what's that Mexican guy's name?
All the Mexicans, all of them are claiming him.
Really?
I was just at Cancun, and they're Mexican nationals there.
Oh, yeah, you know they are.
They are
straight
not.
Off the
they're
boat.
not even
the train. The bus.
They are
something.
They highly doubt. They don't even know English.
No,
they are all.
When my wife walks in there,
she can't speak English.
No. No, she can't.
No,
but they're all like, "Hey, you're back! Oh,
yeah.
Pato, hey, come in!"
Because they can communicate. Look,
they know her as if she was their sister.
Okay, so getting off on a sidetrack a little bit. When we were there the other day, I said, "I'm in a big hurry because I'm gonna have to leave soon. If I get fajitas, can we get them kind of quick?" It was kind of crowded, but not that crowded. But I'm like, I can't be waiting a long time for these fajitas. And he was like, "Who me? Me fajitas? Me Had no idea what I was trying to say to him. Not a clue. And I said, just get us the fajitas.
One fajita, big.
He had to point at the
picture.
So anyway, that was my sidetrack. But anyway, all of them in there were like.
Now that you say he's Filipino, it makes sense. He does look because I was trying to figure out what what Spanish national was. The only thing I can think of, anybody that looks anything remotely close to him would be either Guatemala or Honduras or.
Well, here's the popularity
something.
of a world champion Mexican fighter, because in Mexico, boxing is huge.
Right.
That Julio Cesar Chavez followers.
They're all about fighting. They got
yeah.
cockfighting. They got dog fighting.
Yeah, it's definitely a big cultural thing there. Kind of like in America, we're all about basketball, and it used to be baseball, and for the most part,
and if you're Michael
football.
Vick, it's football and dogs.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Right.
Is he from Mexico? Or?
But hold on. So Pacquiao made a statement this week, and he said, "If I win the fight, my good friend Suge Knight will go free."
Oh, so we really dodged a bullet here.
He said he was going to. Suge Knight, if you listen, you're avid listeners, Smith Radio. Suge Knight is currently in jail right now, waiting through his trial for running over two men and killing one of them.
And he's also alleged to be the reason or somehow involved with the murder of Tupac back in '96.
Sure. And so he, the guy who lived, took the stand and he doesn't remember his own name and he couldn't answer questions.
That's like typical 30s and 40s Italian mafia stuff from Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to mess with Suge Knight, honestly. But anyways.
Apparently not.
So his bail is set at $10 million.
And here's the thing. I didn't know any of this stuff. When you said he was in jail, I was like, well, if you're in prison, there is no bail.
And I'm going to make this very clear to everybody. They get it really confused. The words are critical. There's prison, there's jail, and there's county lockup.
And then there's the drunk tank.
There's the drunk tank, and there's also juvie.
Oh, my goodness.
So these are different places. So when somebody said, oh, yeah, Suge Knight's in prison. No, on the contrary, mon frere. He is not in prison. Ray Reynolds may be there now.
If you listen to last week's show, whoo!
Suge Knight,
just Google him,
is he's in the process of going through trial to see if he's innocent or not. During that process, if you go to jail when you're arrested, before the trial starts, the judge will make a determination, and your lawyers can talk about it, whether you can get out of jail for free and wait for trial, or if there's going to be a fee that you got to pay up front,
which they would call
promise to come back, bail. Right. And if you don't, and the bail is set at $10 million,
which is high. That's really high.
Really high, which means you could go find a bail bondsman. Now that's a person who will put up the money, and you pay them 10%. So they don't really actually put the full amount up.
Yeah, it's only 10% of what the bail is. So
however,
if the bail is $10 million, somebody needs to come up with $1 million.
Okay. However, if no bail bondsman is willing to touch that, you got to front the full $10 million.
Right. You could just bail him out yourself
with $10 million cash.
Yeah, and they wouldn't even take. Oh no! You can bail him out with 10%.
You need a bail bondsman to do that.
Really?
Yes.
Because
you can't
the bondsman...
do it. The bondsman is bonded. He's bonded. His business is connected to them.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a bonded business.
Wow.
And the bail bondsman promises the court, I'll pay you in full if he skips.
Okay. And that's
where the catch is.
Right, and a lot of people don't know this, but when you bail somebody out of jail for the fee, for the bail, right, you get pretty much all of that back once the trial's over. You're pretty much promising the judge that they will show up for trial.
Right.
And you lose all of it
if you don't show up.
If they don't show up.
Now,
so,
if you pay a bail bondsman, there's fees.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff
You're going to
involved.
lose some anyway. Right.
But
so Suge Knight is in jail for a really high bail.
I guess apparently no bail bondsman's touching it.
Well, nobody has $1 million. Somebody's going to have to front $1 million, I would think, right?
I don't know if I'd front $1 million on Suge Knight returning back to court.
Well,
for murder.
Well, here's another question. Let's say he does skip out on the court, but then later they catch him and bring him in, and then he goes to court. Do you get your money back then?
You got a sticky web right there.
Probably
because
not.
that's where the bail bondsmen actually go after these people.
That's right.
Like Dog the bounty hunter.
I'm gonna give you a blast from the past. You ever seen the movie Midnight Run?
Yes.
Go rent that movie. This was a guy, white collar criminal, Charles Grodin. Grodin. He was apparently he was bailed out for a lot of money.
Well, he was accused of doing something.
So the bail bondsman is looking for him because he's out a lot of money until he finds him.
Right.
So once he finds him, he can get paid. So he hires bounty hunters to go find him, and they get paid for finding him.
Right.
So that the bail bondsman can get some of his money back.
Right. So the bail bondsman, instead of losing $5,000, he might only lose. He might get his $5,000 back and pay the bounty hunter $2,000.
Something like
or
that.
Whatever.
Right.
Give him a finder's fee.
In this case, it was a lot of money. But since Charles Grodin, whatever, was rich, there's the added benefit or plot twist.
Paying off the
he could pay the bounty hunter. What are you getting for this? What are you getting for this? I'll double it. And then he could pay.
Walk away.
Yeah.
How do you not walk away?
But the problem is the bounty hunter, who was Robert De Niro in the movie.
Right.
He has principles.
Yeah.
And he's not going to take a payoff. He said, "I'll never take a payoff in my life. And I'm not going to start with you because you're a lowlife. You're a criminal." So it was a very good movie.
Well, we dodged a bullet, and Suge Knight is still in jail. In a holding cell, probably by himself.
But you know what they should do? They should use Suge Knight and everybody else involved, including Pacquiao, to create another movie, just as make that the plot of Midnight Run remake.
Oh, with Suge Knight.
With Suge Knight.
Oh, like the movie Annie with Jamie Foxx
right.
and the black girl.
Right. So instead of Charles Grodin,
right,
Suge Knight. But it won't be the real Suge Knight. It'll just be some tatted up, fat, freaking
black dude.
Criminal.
Oh.
Whoa. Charles Grodin was a criminal too, but he was white collar. This would be more of a mafia style gangsta.
Right.
That'd be a good movie. We should go ahead and make the script
Set
for that.
The trailer up and everything.
Well, we don't need the trailer. We just need a nice script and start shopping that around to Hollywood. We'll just steal the entire plot because the plot of Midnight Run is great. All y'all listening right now, go to your DVD store or library and put that thing on hold. Get that thing. It's a great movie from the 80s, late 80s, Robert De Niro movie. Anyway, so also in our show today, we're going to touch on gay marriage, which is in the Supreme Court, and man, it is
flaming hot.
Nice one. Baltimore cops, 6 of them charged with murder.
Oh my good! You got to be kidding me! Murder.
Yeah, we're gonna get on this Second Amendment stuff again. We have good news. Criminal was shot and killed. Well, alleged criminal who was caught trying to rip some poor woman out of her car, and Second Amendment saves the day.
Wow.
And nobody
didn't see that. So they say that the only time you need a cop is the only time you can't find a cop is when you need a cop.
Well, you know what cops are really for?
To follow up after the crime is.
They're there to do the paperwork about the crime.
Right.
And hopefully that the only thing what we're all hoping is whatever crime was committed can be made right through a payment from an insurance company. So like a theft,
right.
robbery, whatever, But as far as catching the criminals, it's getting less and less of that being the world today. The world today is, I mean, cops don't even want to do that stuff.
No,
oh, crap.
not
You
at
mean
all.
I actually have to go after the criminal? I just want to come here, take a statement, file it away, call your insurance company. You need medical attention? Send you to Obama, a care, whatever. Send you to the White House.
Wow.
We're going to put a big H on it with an arrow.
You know, every time I drive down the street and I see the H for the hospital, I can't help but think of Hillary.
We got to put the bumper stickers on those actual signs.
Oh, my goodness.
No, we don't even, with just an arrow. Let's print out a bunch of them.
Red arrows everywhere.
And we'll slap it right on all the hospitals. Not the actual hospital.
I don't want to.
No, it'll be like a joke. It'll get people really
But
irritated.
they'll be thinking about her.
They'll be irritated.
Out of sight, out of mind.
They'll be like, I can't believe these people.
Well, a follow-up to a story that we had a couple of weeks ago about Bruce Jenner.
What about who? What?
Bruce Jenner?
Yeah,
going
what about
through the
it?
change?
Is he going through changes?
Well, apparently a local Cincinnati restaurant owner and
really?
entrepreneur has apologized after being criticized by transgender advocates for naming his new hot dog of the day the Bruce Jenner 2.0.
Well, what would a hot dog? So
It's a bun with chili.
Oh, wait a minute. Whoa, this is a family show. Brian's turning purple right now. He can't even breathe. He can't even breathe. He's laughing so hard.
It's not a hot dog. It's a bun. It's a dogless bun.
Oh, there's a bun. Wait a minute. There's not a hot dog in it?
No.
Well, that's a surprise.
But he calls it the Bruce Jenner 2.0.
Does it have an Adam's apple in it?
They had to remove that too.
No, you know what?
It's just a hot dog bun with
Chili
in it, and no hot dog.
So do they pack any fudge in it?
That's the dessert 2.0.
Oh, so the Bruce Jenner. You know what somebody said about this? I actually heard about this already. Somebody said it's half hot dog, half taco. You didn't hear that? I'm not kidding.
No.
I think it was Rush. Rush said that right before the break hit.
Oh,
You know, he's funny. He,
wow.
you know how he does the comedy right before the break.
Oh, it slips one in. And
Yeah,
then
he
gets,
always slips
and then
one
gets out
in.
the back door.
Yes.
Whoa.
Wait. The Bruce Jenner hot. It's a chili dog without the hot dog, or is it a half taco, half hot dog? Whew.
I'll go with the half hot dog. Half
Wow.
taco.
Or is it an order of clam?
Side of clam chowder.
Oh my goodness.
Wow, we've got a lot of sound bites. Let's cue up the main story of the night. Roll this one out.
All right.
Apparently last week this kind of hit, and I didn't really get into it, and I didn't put it on the slate it, but I saw the rioting and the problems in Baltimore, Maryland. But before I go too far, I just want to let everybody know, because I know the listeners want to know more about us and who we are.
Right.
Back in the late 90s, mid-90s, early 90s, I was actually stationed in Baltimore, Maryland. And it's the first time that I had ever left Cincinnati for any extended period of time to another large city.
Okay.
I mean, I'd been to Indianapolis, Dayton,
But not for
Columbus.
more than like a couple days, maybe.
Not for more than a day. I normally,
okay.
Yeah. I mean,
I was going to say I've been to all kinds of cities all over the world, but the only ones I could say that I was there for more than maybe 2 or 3 days be a very short, small list.
right. But I mean, I was there as a kid, though. I was very young. And in the city of Cincinnati back in the 90s, when you watched the local news at night, they would report, a stabbing or a murder, homicide, something like that, from other cities.
It's very rare to hear, although it's getting more common now.
And this is the 90s. This is,
Right.
20, 25 years ago. Well, I moved to Baltimore, Maryland. And the first week of being there, I called my mom and I said, you know what? There's like 15 murders and homicides a night in this city.
Well,
they don't report anywhere on any other city because it's all right here.
So, well, the question is, maybe it's 15 times bigger than Cincinnati.
I'd imagine it is. Baltimore, Maryland is a large city.
Like, that much bigger? Because Cincinnati's pretty big, too.
Well, I mean, it's not 15 times bigger, but
right.
It's a large city, and the thing that I saw, granted this 20, 25 years ago, what I saw when I was there, whoo, it was the backside of something you don't ever want to see. It was rough.
Wow.
I mean, it was hard.
It's like
The
walking
streets-
through over the Rhine for miles.
Oh, worse. Yeah. I mean, the streets were rough. I mean, there were shady people on every corner. There was dirt in the streets, garbage in the streets, and painted and tagged up buildings and broken out. I mean, it was just a really bad place.
See, over the Rhine is so bad in Cincinnati that there's not even graffiti. Because if anybody was out there long enough to paint something up,
get shot.
they might end up dead anyway.
So, but that was 20 years ago in Baltimore, and that's my take on it. Place was not a good place for me at all. Me and the
How long did you stay there?
4 months.
Oh, wow.
Me and the guys that I hung out with, we had gone into the city a few different times. And unless you go down on the boardwalk, which is right there on the ocean.
Oh, I didn't even realize it's a coastal city.
Ooh, shouldn't have said that out loud.
Well, okay. I mean, I've never been there, and I
There's
never
a
really.
big naval.
I've never studied.
There's a big naval thing there.
Well, I mean, you weren't in the Navy, so
no,
I
but
just.
you see a lot of the graduates
Mhm.
from the Navy, the officers.
Yeah.
They graduate from the Navy. They all come out and they all do this thing on the.
Well, you never think of. I've
The
never
water.
heard of anybody talking about doing anything on the
Annapolis.
beach in Baltimore.
Annapolis.
Yeah.
Well, it's not really a beach. It's like a waterway.
Oh, okay. So like a big cape or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, anyways, other than that, man, it was just shady. And you got in, you got out. When it got dark, you weren't found anywhere. You
Oh,
left.
so it's kind of like when I went to Seoul, Korea.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Well, when I was in Memphis, I remember it being, I don't know, it seemed like it was rougher, just the look of it, but really wasn't dirty or anything.
They
Like you
say
said, it was
they say Graceland is just
Oh, I've been
awful.
there. Yeah, well, here's the thing about Graceland. It is a mansion. It looks like whoever lived there, if you didn't know what it was, you'd be like, looks like a really wealthy old, because it kind of still has that 60s look to it.
Right.
Looks like a very, very wealthy old person lived there, right? But there's a fence all the way around the whole property, and outside that fence is the shadiest ghetto you've ever seen. I mean, liquor stores, gun stores, closed down gas stations where there's nothing left but the pad and a boarded up building. And
Oh, the pumps are gone.
yeah, the pumps are gone. Just the sign is still erected, but there's like it's hollow. There's
There's no sign there. It's the frame of the sign.
the frame of the sign. Yeah,
Kind of like the IGA down here down the street. Going down Blue Rock Road, there
Yeah?
used to be an IGA there.
I didn't even know that.
Right next to the Golden Dairy place.
Okay.
Well, there's a sign up in the air with the frame, and it used to be lit,
It's just gone.
and one plastic side is missing.
Oh, you mean the other plastic
And the other plastic side's there. It says IGA, but it's so faded you can't even see it anymore.
Ooh.
And it's still there.
Somebody's got to do something about that. Wow. Yeah. So yeah, Graceland is weird because it's in what I would consider a really bad part of town. But it's like, how long has it been this way? I mean, this is a multi-million-dollar mansion sitting right here. I mean, has it only recently gotten bad? I mean, it's just
Right.
weird, really strange.
So anyway, in Baltimore, a while ago, the six police officers pulled over a man by name Gray.
No, he was on foot.
On foot. It stopped him.
Yeah, because, well, the story is, cops were walking through the street, and Gray made eye contact with the cops. The cops made eye contact back.
Whoa. Freddie Gray made eye contact with the cops?
Well, you're just kind of looking around, and you know how you've seen it before. You're in a crowded place, and you're people watching, and all of a sudden you realize, oh, that guy caught my eye.
Right.
And then he looked away real quick. It
Right.
happens all the time. Well, this happened between Gray and the cop, and when it happened, he immediately 180 sprinted off.
Bolted.
Right. And so here comes the sticky situation. Does that constitute probable cause? If you're a cop and a guy looks right at you, and as soon as he sees that you see him, he turns and bolts. Is that probable cause?
I don't know.
Because for those of you low information voters listening, and let me tell you something, there's some high information, but there are some conservative libertarians that I've been reading about on the internet that are just clueless about their rights and what the duties are of cops.
I've talked to police officers recently that are clueless about my rights.
And that's what most libertarians think, that cops can't do anything. And I'm on the internet blasting these people like, whoa. You need to learn about what probable cause is.
Right.
But anyway, because there's another story we'll talk about a dog ripped this guy's face off. A canine.
Oh, I saw the story. Yeah.
I was reading in the
police
comments. Oh, we'll talk about that.
Get that
So Gray makes eye contact with the cops, turns and bolts. Is that probable cause? I mean, why would you do that? Who does that?
The police officer that I talked to a month ago told me that probable cause in his book is wide open to interpretation.
And you know what?
That made me so angry when he said that.
Right, but he's right, though. Think about it. What about the phrase probable cause really paints the picture? I mean, it is wide open. Somebody needs to define probable cause a little bit better. But I will have to admit, there are a lot of libertarian conservatives out there who think that you need to be actively in the action of committing a crime and being witnessed by the cop for it to be probable cause, and that's just not true.
The police officer attempted to try and make a probable cause case to someone I know.
Okay.
When this person that I know said, "No, I will not step out of my house. No, I have nothing to say to you."
Yeah, that's not probable cause.
And the officer tried to make a case at that.
He said, "Well, then that's probable. You're
lying." Yes,
you must be guilty.
The words out of his mouth were, "If you're not guilty, you would cooperate."
Oh, that is totally not allowed.
That is exactly what he said to this person. That
I can tell anybody in the world. I don't care if you're a cop or if you're a libertarian or if you're a communist that hates the Fourth Amendment and all that kind of stuff. That is not allowed.
Well, right.
Refusing to incriminate yourself is not probable cause. So let's say I've got an entire greenhouse full of pot in my house, but it's out of view.
Right.
Can't see it.
Right.
Maybe you can't smell it, which is another thing. I don't really like the whole, I smell it, because cop could so easily lie about that.
Right.
Oh, I went in there because I could smell the pot.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't find any, but I smelled something. Well, anyway, so you could have this whole thing going. You're allowed to say, "No, I don't want you to come in my house."
Yes.
And if they don't have a warrant,
it's a Fourth Amendment right. Right to search and seizure.
They're not allowed to say, "Well, how in the world could you have any right to privacy if you can't say, well, no, I don't want you to come in here, Mr. Officer," because, and then the cop will say, "Well, if you don't want me to come in there, then you must be guilty of a crime."
Right. Right.
You are always perpetually in the catch-22 that will either require, that pretty much guarantees the cop can just barge in.
Okay, this happened to me in college. This is God's honest truth, and my brother can back this up. Apparently, I had 3 roommates, so it was me and 3 other guys. So there's 4 guys in this apartment, 4 different bedrooms. 2 of the guys were over at my brother's apartment at a party. And apparently something went missing and went stolen. And one of the guys that roomed with me, he's a klepto, so that's pretty much standard that he probably stole it.
Okay. So
the next morning when my brother and all his roommates woke up, they called the cops because it was stolen. Whatever it was expensive, like a $500 Xbox or something.
Okay.
Or whatever they
cost.
That's
pretty expensive.
Whatever they cost back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, if you have an Xbox come up missing and you're only in college, that's a high dollar item.
Because you opted for an Xbox and not a car
and nothing else.
Right.
You're wondering where your next meal is coming from,
and you're bribing your friends. You can play it, but you got to front my beer for the weekend.
Bring over a Happy Meal,
yeah.
and I'll let you play my Xbox.
It's so I'm sleeping. Everybody's sleeping. My brother comes over to our place with the cops.
Uh-oh. This is getting serious.
And the front door is wide open.
Okay.
It's not even closed.
Right.
And my brother starts screaming, and I come out, and I'm half dressed. Like, what, dude? It's like, bro, there's nothing I can do about it. The cops are here.
There's nothing I can do.
Like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Your door is open. I was like, so what? I don't care. He's like, dude, no. There's a bag of weed on the table. And the cops immediately walked in, seized the bag of weed.
That is probable cause, by the way.
They were going to take all 4 of us in, but the one guy fessed up, and he gave me his debit card. And he said, here's my PIN number. Go to the ATM, take out my student loan money, and bail me out.
Oh, wow. Because that is a good use for the student loan money. Well, think about it. If you're in jail, you're going to fail out.
Right.
So you got to use the student loan money to bail you out.
To bail you out. Just take more student loans.
Right, exactly.
Anyways, I digress. So apparently, the cops, and there were 6 police officers involved in total. And now you all have probably heard the story, so I'm going to just start to let these details out as we go along. Out of these 6 police officers, there were 3 white males, 3 white males. 2 were black male, and 1 was a black female.
Okay, so we got 3 black officers and 3 white officers.
Right, and
sounds
that is
like
not
a very diverse crew.
And 1 was female, and that is not being talked about
and
at all.
Don't think for a instant that was just I don't know. I mean, is it really important? That's what the journalists are saying. You know good and damn well that all the journalists whose job it is to tell you the who, what, where, why, when are like, okay, we have 3 of them. Half of them are black. Let's not mention that.
Right.
Let's definitely not mention that.
Right.
And there's a reason why. And they don't even have to say. They all know. Well, we know why. Whatever. But the reason is because that would really rub against the narrative that the left wants to
definitely promote.
I mean, yeah, they're promoting this narrative of it's white authority killing black victim. That's what it is.
And they're using minority too. The word minority and black, they're just intermingling that.
Yeah, because
I've seen a lot of the word minorities are being suppressed.
Right. And it's universal. It's universal, and that's why Zimmerman was a white Hispanic. That was very important, because when it turned out, first of all, you wouldn't say just by looking at him that this guy automatically, oh, this is Hispanic, just by looking at him. And so they didn't even know. And when it came out that he was Hispanic, they were like, ooh, how can we fix this? Oh, well, look at him. He's obviously white Hispanic.
Okay, now the fact that they called him a white Hispanic, and we're not going off topic, folks. It's all
a universal narrative on their part.
The Hispanic community just literally started to grab their mouth from throwing up and just reeling back and wanting to go all out.
Because I've never heard that before.
Not only have you never heard that, but that is something you would never, ever. It's like saying look at that white black guy.
Yeah, like
a white black guy.
Nobody even says
a white African American.
Nobody even says mixed or any other words that would indicate half white, half black anymore. If you're not 100% redhead, Irish, German, whatever, you're black.
Right.
Flat out. You could just have the little bit of little.
Well, look at Obama. He's 50-50.
Right, he's 50%
he is
white.
Completely black.
Nobody says anything about the 50% of him that is white.
Speaking about that, I've got a clip later on of Chuck Todd just salivating over how black he is. Chuck Todd salivating on how black Obama is.
Okay.
And what he should be doing with his blackness.
And the reason we point out all this race stuff is because we want to illustrate the racism of the left. Because that's what this is. They're obsessed over it.
We would not be talking about this at all
if it wasn't for how racist they are.
Yeah,
so anyway, so getting back to the story, so they I'm glad you pointed out that we're talking about a very diverse group of cops here.
You probably couldn't get more diverse.
I don't
probably
think you could. I mean,
unless you had some Mexicans.
Unless one of them was a Mexican, one was Muslim and or Arabic or whatever, then you would have a fully diverse group.
You would have a Muslim, an Arabic. A Mexican Canadian.
What? Wait, a Mexican Canadian? Is there such a thing? I guess there is.
He's gone from the north to the south.
Well, no. If a Mexican goes all the way to Canada and
to freedom,
marries a French Canadian and has kids, that would be a Canadian Mexican,
right? Of socialist
or
background.
Mexican Canadian. I don't know. What? Okay. So back to the story. So. Gray runs off. Cops are like, oh, that's probable cause.
Ain't happening in my town.
By the way, we got to give all the details here. The cops were like, well, wait a minute. He didn't just run in just some random place. This is a huge high crime area. Everybody knows this is the drug plaza for the most part. This is where you get drugs. So drug sales are really big in this spot. And he makes eye contact. So that was the probable cause argument that they're making.
I'm thinking in my mind right now, the next time I see a cop, I'm going to turn and bolt.
That's what I was saying.
And then when he attacks me, I'm going to say, no, I got this Tourette's thing. I got Tourette's. Instead of making me scream outburst of yelling at people, I have this outburst of running and energy.
Is there a name for that condition?
No, I just made it up.
Please don't break my neck.
I can't breathe.
Oh,
can you hear me?
So apparently, if you are in a high crime area where it's known to be a lot of drug trafficking, and you make eye contact with a cop, and instantly turn and sprint, dead sprint, and apparently there were two of them.
Well, think about it.
One, and they split off. Right. I might be wrong about that.
But no, I don't know if the second guy was with him, but there was a second guy that happened to be in the van.
Oh no, that's a different story. A different guy. Yeah, okay. So they catch, and this is on video of them dragging him to the paddy wagon.
Right.
And I didn't know this, but apparently it had been highly reported on, so now I do. These paddy wagons have different cells inside the back of them. So when you put people in them, you can have them separated in their own little...
Yeah, so they can't start to molest each other, get violent.
Get in a fight, yeah.
I mean, because they could do such bodily harm to each other that they could... Yeah. Oh, they could die.
Right, so they're in separate containers.
Right.
Or cages, as initially that was the reporting on it. And
as a cage?
Yeah, they were reporting, they put him in that cage. Yeah. Which cage was he in?
The cage number 1.
My question is, were these cops or were they dog catchers? I mean, what
kind
of a paddy wagon?
A dog catcher.
Yeah, because if you look at a dog catcher, the back of their truck has got a bunch of separate cages for all the different animals that they catch. But anyway, so now we're not trying to make any...
Wow.
Brian's over here. Actually, the producers are like freaking out. They're so
yeah.
So anyway, so they drag him handcuffed,
kicking and screaming.
Yeah, he's screaming and screaming. They place him in the paddy wagon. At no point during this ride did they ever seatbelt him, apparently.
Now, there's two different theories on that. Two different thoughts, two different schools, maybe more.
Yes,
two that I have.
The two main ones.
The first one that was brought up to me by a local law enforcement official.
Boy, you were talking all these. You've been doing some homework.
Well, they've been visiting me lately.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Been setting up appointments.
Okay.
Yep. Got booked up full. Well, the one police officer said that a lot of times that they encounter this violence when they're handcuffing these individuals and they're trying to stick them into the back of the wagon. In order to seatbelt them in order to secure them in, a lot of times they're so close to them that they might bite, they'll spit, they'll kick, they'll punch.
So just reaching over to buckle them up could be
dangerous. It's hazardous. It's
so
much
but that's
so.
not an excuse to not do it.
It's so much so that they'll look at each other and say, "You gonna do it?" They say, "You gonna do it?" Hell no, I ain't gonna do it. I ain't gonna do it either.
They need to have that mask from the
Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs mask, and just slap that on them.
Yeah.
And put him on a dolly. They put him on a dolly.
Clarice.
He was on a dolly in the movie.
He
wasn't
was on a dolly.
What is
Side
that's
of
so
farfa
freaky?
beans and a nice Chianti.
That is. We need to have that soundbite. Where's that soundbite?
I just gave it to you.
Okay. So anyway, okay. Okay. Wait. We have two theories. So the first theory is that nobody wants to do it.
No.
Nobody wants to do that. Okay.
Second one is it's called riding dirty.
Or rough riding.
Riding dirty. Oh, sorry, that was something else. Yeah, rough riding. This came from a retired cop.
Oh, from what, the 50s?
Who said, absolutely, you will never run from us, and if you run from us, we are going to teach you a lesson.
How old was this guy, man?
160.
Wait, that's how much he weighed?
No, it's from a retired Coleraine Township cop.
Oh, I could see.
And his comment was, I might be embellishing a little bit, but his comment was...
His paraphrasing, right?
Yeah. Like stretching the truth.
Okay.
His comment is that you don't run from the cops.
Yeah,
and if you
that
do...
is the rule.
If you do, you will be taught a lesson.
So they're basically making up their own laws and their own punishments for breaking these laws.
Right.
And the law that you're not allowed to break is, well, you shouldn't run from the cops anyway. But instead of just booking them and charging them with evading police or running, whatever it is, they go ahead and say, well, we're just going to go ahead and administer the judicial punishment now.
The preliminary. We're going to get you prepped.
We're going to get you prepped for punishment. We're just going to punish you. We're just going to flat out punish you. So they go off-roading?
If a cop says...
Hill jumping. They go hill jumping.
They go to the sand dunes.
Oh.
If a cop says, hey, you, boy, stop.
Okay.
Get over here.
And then you run.
Or you walk away.
Oh, you could just walk away. Or you could just ignore him.
Yeah.
Okay. They're going to punish you.
There is no law that says that if a cop yells at you, that you have to...
Well, I mean, they're allowed to engage you, and I would think that you can't just completely ignore them.
Yes, you can.
You can completely ignore a cop.
The Fourth Amendment right, the right to search and seizure. You cannot walk up to anybody on the street and just start to interrogate people.
Well, maybe not interrogate them, but they're allowed to question you for things.
Okay, what can I help you with? Can I help you with something, officer?
Yeah, I mean, that's fine.
What's your name?
Okay, whoa.
What do you need my name for?
Right, and I understand that, but are you allowed to completely ignore them?
You sure can.
I'd have to...
There's a guy, and I think I've told this story before. There's a guy, it's on YouTube. It's famous. I love it. He's videotaping inside his car, and he's crossing the border of California into New Mexico.
Okay.
California into Arizona.
Oh, Arizona. I was going to say that'd be tough.
The state.
Whoa, somebody get a map out here. Woo, that's a hell of a thick border there. Woo, that's like a 400-mile thick border.
And through the checkpoint, maybe he was coming into California. He was coming into California because when you go into California, there's a checkpoint to check your vehicle if you have plants.
Okay.
Or things.
Perishables.
Which is illegal.
Okay.
Those checkpoints are illegal. They're against
now,
the
what would you think? What would you say about this then?
So they stopped him, and they waved him over. They told him to roll his window down. This video went on for 20 minutes.
Well, it would in real life.
And I was riveted. I was riveted.
Of course, yeah.
And so all these police officers tell him to roll his window down. They're pounding on the window. Then they tell him to pull over. So he pulls out of the way. He gets off and pulls off to the side. They are surrounded around his vehicle the whole time. He never says a word. It's silent, and he's videotaping inside his car. Finally, at the end, one of the cops takes a baton, bashes his window open, grabs him and the phone, and yanks him out of the car.
Okay.
Extremely illegal. He will have a payday.
Huh. Unless they... I mean, I'm surprised you got to see the video. You would think that they would just go in and erase the video.
Whoa.
Which, of course, would be illegal, too. But if you're
unless you work for the IRS.
If you're going to break the law...
Or if you're Hillary Clinton.
If you're a cop and you're going to break the law, you can't go halfway with it. You got to go all the way.
So you're saying the cop that laid the taser down to the dead guy went halfway?
Yes, because he needed to find out if anybody was videotaping.
They were.
He needed to go seize that. Say, ma'am, we need this for evidence. And then go in and delete it.
Right.
So,
anyways, they throw Freddie Gray, throw him headlong into the back of the paddy wagon.
Well, let's just say they placed him in nicely, but didn't seatbelt him.
Along with another guy who had stolen a cigarette.
Oh, hold on a second. The story I heard was when they put him in and drove off, initially it was just him. The next guy that was put in there with him was at a second stop.
Because he was accused of stealing a single cigarette.
Which would be illegal.
Yeah, but I think it's illegal to sell singles anymore.
Did he steal it or sell it?
No, I don't think a store is not allowed to sell a single open pack of cigarettes.
Well, if I have a cigarette in my hand...
No, from a store.
Well, it doesn't matter if it's from a store. If you steal... You're going to get busted for stealing.
Okay, so he stole a single cigarette.
Okay.
And was thrown in the paddy wagon with him.
So for 20-cent theft, he chucked into
20 cents? That's up to like $1 a cigarette in Baltimore.
Oh, in Baltimore.
$20 a pack.
I forgot it's Baltimore. So yeah, $1 worth of cigarette. It was like half smoked. So anyway,
and they wouldn't even give him a match.
He had to rub sticks together. Oh man! So he gets thrown in the paddy wagon, and this is their second stop.
And this guy claims all was well.
Okay.
With Freddie,
he was
there.
He was okay, but then what else?
Well, I got the clip of him talking about it.
Let's hear it. We got to hear what the
here's what the guy said
that stole the cigarette.
Right.
Okay.
And he claims he was misquoted by the news media, so he came back out, found a camera, and started screaming at it.
Oh, so this is the second interview.
Yeah, and he's cementing his statement by coming back out and restating what he meant to say when he said
what he meant. Yeah, what he meant when he said what he said.
Right.
Because it was being misconstrued?
Right. That's what he claims.
Okay.
So this is the other guy.
I'm Darcy Ellis. I am the one that was in the van with Freddie Gray, all it did was go straight to the station. But I heard a little banging that was like he was banging his head, and they trying to make it seem like I told them that, you know what I mean, that Freddie Gray did that to himself. Why the would he do that to himself? I talked to Homicide. I told Homicide the same story. The only reason I'm doing this because they put my name in a bad state.
All right. I'm glad that you cut that all up the way you did.
I had to mash that up because it was a nightmare with all the news media going back and forth.
Yeah, the news basically took a whole bunch of what he said out of context and then inserted their own questions that this guy didn't get to hear. So Brian just cut all that out.
Not only did they do that, but they also would restate in a different language, in a different lingo.
I mean, that was perfectly understandable.
Right.
So here's the problem with him coming out and clarifying. He admits that he said it sounded like he was banging his head. That's what he said.
Right.
There was noise in there making it sound like he was banging his head. Then he comes back and says, and then make it sound like he would do that to himself.
I talked to Homicide.
Well, what else would banging your head in the cell do?
Right.
That would be injuring yourself.
Right.
Wouldn't it?
Right.
Can you? At that point, I would be like, whoa. Can you clarify? Are you saying that banging his head on the wall in there is not doing it to himself?
Right.
And by it, I mean doing the kind of injuries to himself.
Okay, so if this guy was in the paddy wagon with him, why isn't he all banged up?
Well, he wasn't banging his head on the wall.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
It was the other guy banging his head on the wall, not him.
But how could you bang your head on the wall so hard you break your own neck?
Well, here's the theory. There's a couple theories rolling around. All right.
Now, before we get into theories, mind you, everybody, he died from injuries weeks later.
Well, what happened was they determined that his spinal cord was 80% severed, and which would eventually down the line, you're not going to recover from that.
Right.
Could actually lead to your death, which in this case it did.
Right.
If not dead, he would be at least a paraplegic,
Right.
possibly quadriplegic, depending on where the severing took place or whatever, on the location of the spinal cord. So here's the theory. He bangs himself up. Why would you be doing that? Well, given the state of the United States, with all the news coming out about Michael Brown.
Brian, I didn't do nothing.
Michael Brown, who and all this cop stuff.
The Gentle Giant.
It's very, very conceivable that this guy, who's got a criminal rap sheet that's longer than my leg, that he's like, hey, I got an idea.
Well, I got nothing to lose, and this could get me a payday.
Yeah, I have nothing to lose. I could, if I bang myself up in here, I could make false claims against these cops about getting beat.
Right.
And that's a very plausible explanation.
There's also evidence that says that he had spinal injuries in the past from an auto accident.
Oh, so this injury, see, that's breaking news to me.
Yeah.
So
that
this
came out on Friday.
This could have been a pre-existing condition.
Well, it's possible that he could have exacerbated his condition.
Aggravated. Oh,
Exacerbated.
What? Whoa, wait a minute. This
you know the word.
It's a family show.
Yeah. To the point to where, it could have, like if he had pins or a disc or a slip
exacerbated.
Disc, there you go.
Exaggerated. He exaggerated the condition.
Greatly exaggerated it.
Okay.
To the point to where, and he could have been doing this like when they pulled him out of the van. There's no.
All right.
What happened from there to the cell, and then a week later?
All right. Let's do a thought experiment. You're in the back of the van. You're thinking, I need to injure myself enough to where I can make a credible claim that cops beat me up to the tune of possibly a Rodney King style.
Whoa.
Right. How hard would you be banging yourself up in there? I mean, you've got to go all the way with this thing.
You got to do some damage.
You got to do some damage. All right, there's that. Now you're saying,
and if you're hopped up on drugs, it might be an okay thing. Might not be that big a deal.
And we don't know, or do we know? Oh, there was the guy who got interviewed, and they altered his voice, but not enough, clearly. I mean, they basically made his voice go from what it normally is to a half octave lower.
I was going to give him a whole octave.
No, a half octave. And grumbled it up a little bit. Kind of made it a little gravelly.
Oh, so we could find him.
Oh, if I knew this guy, I'd be like, oh, I know who that is. And they introduced him as a senior cop with that law enforcement agency.
And what did he say?
He said that we're going to get into the mystery stop.
Okay. Oh, yeah, because apparently they had made a couple of stops along the way, and here I'll have a sound clip.
Oh, and he also explained why there was no buckling up. That we didn't get to the third theory, okay. Possibly. This is a new law. The law is that you must buckle up the prisoners in the back of the paddy wagon, the back of a car. It's a law now. Well, a lot of people don't realize this, and I never would have thought this myself. You would think that this law would be as old as a seatbelt law.
Right.
Apparently, the law to buckle up the prisoner in the back of a paddy wagon, the back of a cruiser, whatever, is relatively new. And it's possible, I find it hard to believe, but possible that some of the officers didn't even know about this new law.
That's possible. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because I will have to say that if somebody in the backseat of the car... I mean, we grew up where no seatbelts ever.
Oh, no, we had the mom belt, which is the arm.
The arm, right.
The arm reaches across.
If you were in the front seat. Now, if you were in the back seat, it's free game.
Lots of kids would sleep...
in the window.
Yeah, it was actually that... What is that called?
It's like a little shelf back there behind the top of the seat.
Where you bolt the 6x9 speakers.
Yeah, the speakers. The Pioneers or the Kenwoods.
Or the Jensens.
The JVCs?
You know, the only reason I remember that name, Jensen...
JVC, right?
Yeah, they made some, too. Yeah. The only reason I remember that name is because I went to a car show today, and there was somebody had an old...
set of Jensens?
Yeah, Jensens. I was like, man, at least splurge a little bit.
Pick that up a bit, buddy.
Audiovox or something. Oh,
Sears
man.
Name brand.
Piles. They're not even piles. They're Mexican imported ripoffs with the Pile name put on there with a sticker.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, so anyway.
Digress.
I digress. So the seatbelt law may be new, like really new, like maybe less than a year old or something. And so now, after all these years of not even being required to buckle them up, they're using this law as a... You could conceivably, if a prosecutor could prove that injuries sustained in a car ride due to the negligence of a cop not following a new law requiring you to seatbelt him in the back, that could be manslaughter.
Yeah.
And they don't even know about this new law, possibly. And now it's going to be used to convict him of manslaughter.
Wow.
That's assuming that they could prove that the injuries happened due to rough driving. They did not get in a wreck. Now here's the theory in my mind. In my mind, you're driving down the road, you didn't buckle up, you did not follow the law to buckle them up, you get into a rollover, the prisoner is ejected and killed.
Because in the rollover, the roof literally is ripped open like a tuna can.
Like a sardine can. And so,
he goes out like he has an ejection seat, from an F-16.
Right.
He sustains spinal injury on the ejection.
Right. Well, it's not just the ejection. What happens is you get ejected, You're now outside the vehicle, and then the vehicle rolls over you. That's what happens.
Right, and so then you get snappage and crushing, splitting up.
Most of the deaths you hear about people being ejected either die from their own car rolling over them or getting ejected into the path of another vehicle.
I'd like to know how many people have been... Well, you're a race car enthusiast.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Stock car racing or just Indy 500 racing?
Well, yeah, I could...
All racing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a lot more of an IndyCar fan than a NASCAR fan.
Okay. It was freaky weird how Dale
Earnhardt
Sr.
Dale Earnhardt Sr.
hit the wall and died.
Yeah.
It was weird because it didn't look as a hard impact, if you will.
Right, and you got to understand the physics behind it. All these idiots out there, and I'm sorry because there's a lot of people that don't take physics, college physics, or physics for engineers. So I'm probably being a little harsh on a lot of people out there who don't know how physics works, because those people will say, oh, he was going 200 miles an hour and he hit a wall head on. Well, that's true, but the speed relative, there's like a vector and all that where the car into the wall wasn't 200 miles an hour. The full speed of the car was 200 miles an hour, but it wasn't in the direction of the wall.
Right.
And he was sliding mostly sideways.
And it's almost like he grazed.
Yeah, just barely touched it.
Now he died, and it was a freaky, weird accident, and it was so uncanny. It was so uncanny.
My initial reaction to Dale Earnhardt dying after watching it happen in real speed was, that killed him? Really? But okay, so he's going 200. Turns out, if only 35 miles an hour of that speed was directed at the wall,
which means 35 miles an hour sideways.
Well, no, he's going 200 miles an hour sideways.
Okay.
The actual speed between the car and the wall and the collision may have only been 35 miles an hour. Well, here's the argument there. If you don't have any restraint from seatbelt, which we found out later he didn't, he had a seatbelt on, but it was so tore, there was actually a tear.
What?
Yeah, you didn't hear about that?
No.
Yeah, it was like partial. It was like that. Like it was only like partially connected because there was a tear in the seatbelt before he hit the wall. So it was as if he didn't have a seatbelt on, because as soon as he hit the wall, it just shattered and he hit the steering column.
It's like Days of Thunder where he used the tube and the wrong
it's Dale
tubes.
Earnhardt. No, Dale Earnhardt is from the old school.
He does
no, he's from the old school. It's like, I don't need no damn seatbelt.
It's true.
Yeah.
We didn't need seatbelts.
He didn't even have a helmet on.
Right.
Okay, I'm lying about that.
But my whole point of bringing that up is that was a very isolated freak accident.
It was a freak accident, yeah.
Okay. How often do race car drivers die in these wrecks?
Pretty rare.
Nowadays, it's fairly rare. Okay, but and I'm trying to correlate this. They're doing 200 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm, right.
This cop van couldn't have top speeds of 35.
Well, if he was speeding, I could give him 40 to 45. But he's not doing more than that.
He's inner city.
Okay, so probably top speed of 35.
Let's put our reality caps on, and I'll tell you what, folks, and I'm going to be honest with you. I have purposely cut off all the talking heads of the week.
Really?
About this story, because I didn't want to be influenced on my opinion.
Okay, I'm the opposite. I listened to it all week. So you're going to hear a lot of regurgitation of their theories. But if I listen to all of them, I can kind of piece together the overall... It would be like my interpretation of what everybody is saying about it.
Right. Well, my whole thing is, now that looking at it, how often has this ever happened?
That what?
That anybody was placed in a cop car or van and sustained injuries that were life-threatening. Ever.
So what do we? I got my reality cap on. What are we saying here then?
There's got to be more to this.
Okay, so you're saying that the cops probably beat him
at the station.
They could, but
when they got back.
All right, now let's put the reality cap back on. With the reality cap on, that's just not realistic because there's going to be somebody there that's going to be like, "Wow."
And there's footage.
I gotta do a whistle blow. I gotta blow it.
No, and if you blow on it, then it has to be known. Everybody will know.
Right.
And they have video footage of everywhere. The irony of all of this, and we'll get into this with all this. I've got tons of sound bites. So whenever you're ready, you let me know. Tons of sound bites. The prosecuting attorney is going to use the police department's... Oh, she did use the police department's report to indict all 6 cops.
Because of what?
The report.
I mean, what did the report say? I mean, based on what?
She said the report said something.
And so they're all guilty.
Based on the report.
All right, well, here's where... You ready to hear this?
So all 6 cops told on themselves to get themselves indicted. Like, I don't get it.
They could have. They could have.
Yeah.
It's very possible. Maybe they wrote on there, no, we didn't buckle them up.
Oh,
that's a law now? Oh, yeah. So they indicted themselves, not realizing, this new law, I didn't realize about it. So that's very possible.
Okay.
But here's the thing: they didn't get into a wreck.
No.
If they didn't get into a wreck, I mean, how wild and crazy you would have to be risking. And you're driving down the crowded city streets of Baltimore.
Right.
Jumping hills, hitting curbs, sideswiping cars.
Could you imagine what game you'd be playing? What
It'd be
game
like
is this on the
GTA,
Xbox?
Grand Theft Auto.
Right. Okay, so check this out. Check that. And this is Baltimore City State's attorney, Marilyn J. Mosby, announced the office has probable cause. See, that's a very vague word. A lot of people are debating that word, probable cause.
Phrase.
Yeah, the phrase probable cause. They're debating whether she pulled that out of thin air. Anyways, she's claiming she has probable cause to file criminal charges against Baltimore police officers in the death of Freddie Gray. Given details on the arrest, Mosby said, the officers failed to establish probable cause for Mr. Gray's arrest and illegally arrested Mr. Gray.
Yeah, but that would not indicate proof that they murdered him.
Correct. Here are the charges.
Oh my gosh. Don't tell me you got the whole thing. I heard it was like a half hour long.
I'm just going to give the clip notes. Caesar Gooden, second degree deprived heart murder.
Depraved heart?
Depraved heart murder. 30 years. Manslaughter.
How do you define depraved heart?
Manslaughter, 10 years. Assault, 10 years. Manslaughter by vehicle, gross negligence, 10 years. Manslaughter by vehicle,
do they have any evidence
criminal,
of him
3 years.
insulted?
Misconduct in office. Okay, so that's all those charges are against one officer.
I'm sure every one of them has the same thing, right?
The next officer, manslaughter, involuntary, 10 years. Assault, 10 years. Misconduct. Assault, second degree, 10 years. Assault, second degree. Misconduct, assault, misconduct. False imprisonment.
Well, if you pick them up without probable cause, that would be false imprisonment.
Assault, second. So they're all charged with. And the last one, Sergeant Alicia D. White, the black female.
Okay.
Manslaughter, 10 years.
10 years is what she's facing?
Yeah.
Okay.
For manslaughter.
All right.
And assault and then misconduct in office.
So the theory I heard that they've been bantering around on the radio this week is that they think the reason they're throwing the book at all of them all at once, I mean every page of the book, is that they... And the thing is you can't say, or I shouldn't say you can't say, but it's hard to say all 6 of them murdered this guy.
It's not possible.
Logically speaking, only one person can murder somebody, I think. I mean, if I beat
If
somebody
you
half
and
to death, if I beat somebody half to death and then you beat him the other half to death,
I couldn't get charged for manslaughter because I only beat him half,
so I get half of manslaughter.
and you beat him half.
Yeah, so we got to split that.
The only way it would work is if you and I beat him at the same time and he died.
I guess so, because if I beat him half to
Then
death,
it was a joint venture.
It's so we have a GoFundMe page. Oh, wait a minute! Wow! All right, so let's get back to reality. So the theory is that by throwing the book at all 6 of them all at once,
Something's gonna stick.
they're all no, that's not it.
Okay,
That
sorry.
they're all going to start freaking out and telling on each other, and that the truth is going to eventually come out, because if several of them start telling what really happened, that the stories will start corroborating.
The problem is they don't understand. Cops are thick as thieves. Blood's thicker than water with the cops.
Are they all related?
Well, the union.
Oh,
And let me tell you,
Ooh.
the union is PO'd.
Really?
The union is livid, and the police chief of this department is encouraging his police officers to stand tough, and we'll do everything we can to support you.
That's interesting, because they've got to be in a conundrum there. Because
The police chief, the union, and all the cops are completely against the district attorney.
and the district attorney is... See, I'm trying to find the
Mosby.
political angle here, because unions are communist.
Correct. You would think they would be together. However, there's a slight backdoor story.
This is like communists eating their own, because you got
Yes.
the union, the communist union, who represents all the cops, in a battle for the communists that are trying to say that the man is killing innocent, unarmed black people.
Right.
And beating on them, and so it's kind of like you got these two communist factions going battle head to head, while us libertarian conservatives sit back and just announce we're gonna announce the play-by-play, the blow-by-blow, kind of
Right.
like Mayweather Pacquiao.
And this is a story from the Baltimore Times. A lawyer retained by Baltimore Police Union to represent 6 officers accused of wrongdoing in the death of the young black suspect on Friday denounced an egregious rush to judgment, quote. And this is the union, quote, "We believe that these officers will be vindicated as they have done nothing wrong," said Michael Davey, a lawyer working for the city's Fraternal Order of Police.
The Fraternal Order of Police.
Quote, he says, "I have never seen such a hurry rush to file charges."
Well, you know why, right? So the hurry and the rush was because they felt, and by they I mean the mayor,
Yeah,
the
you
mayor.
You better, with they.
The mayor. You can't use the word they when talking about a racially charged story. Those people. Yikes! Even worse.
Well,
okay, so no. The mayor and the DA and all these people that are coming down on the Baltimore cops, they needed to hurry up and rush to judgment, because they did so because they felt like this will calm the rioters, who, by the way, aren't even from Baltimore.
Now they're shipped in, and there
Paid
is
for by George Soros.
proof that George Soros has posted hundreds of millions of dollars
In order to organize this riot. I'll tell you what, Mr. Producer is driving us nuts right now.
Yeah, you couldn't hear that, folks, but
We were getting...
it's okay.
It was like a knife being twisted in my eardrum.
Breaking news. The Fraternal Order of Police also came out and are asking Baltimore State Attorney Marilyn Mosby to appoint a special prosecutor to the Freddie Gray investigation because of her personal connection to the Gray family attorney.
So it ends up being political.
The Gray family attorney has supported financially her re-election and also her marriage to a local city councilman.
And so what is the her end goal here?
They want her to recuse herself. Well, the problem is that
the whole purpose of her doing this is because of that.
Yeah,
so of course she's not going to recuse herself.
Well, not only that, but she's famous now. And you should have seen her in front of the cameras. She's a young black woman. I got the sound bite.
Yeah, let's hear it.
You want to hear it?
Yeah,
it's amazing. These people. Oh, she's also got ties
to the mafia,
to Obama.
Oh, of course,
the White House. So here's Marilyn Mosby. This is 48 seconds of her long.
I have a dream speech.
Yeah,
I think I heard this, and I got something to say. I had a conversation with a typical low information voter about this. But go ahead.
Okay.
I hope that as we move forward with this case, everyone will respect due process and refrain from doing anything that will jeopardize our ability to seek justice. To the people of Baltimore and the demonstrators across America, I heard your call for no justice, no peace. Your peace is sincerely needed as I work to deliver justice on behalf of this young man. To those that are angry, hurt, or have their own experiences of injustice at the hands of police officers, I urge you to channel the energy peacefully as we prosecute this case. I have heard your calls for no justice, no peace. However, your peace is sincerely needed as I work to deliver justice on behalf of Freddie Gray.
All I heard was justice, peace, no justice.
I almost
peace,
felt like
justice.
I was getting to the end of Catholic Mass there with all the peace going on there. Whew! Peace be with you.
Peace
and also
be with
you.
And
also with you.
Oh, man.
So yeah, I was ready to take Mass there. So so she's. I mean, it's kind of like a speech. So I'm sitting here talking with a bunch of people that of diverse backgrounds. Some of them were old contractors.
Well, hold on. What do you think of what she said, though? Was that...
It sounded like she was giving a speech.
Right. Her whole spiel that I heard, it was really self-grandizing.
Aggrandizing, yeah.
Like, I will be the one who claims the justice for our people.
And I urge peace be with you, and also with you.
So calm down while I take the reign.
I'll take this thing, and I will run all the way to the White House with it.
I have the ability to get justice. Let me take over.
Well, and also, she did that. I 100% agree with you, Brian, on your analysis of that. But also... it's like it's the typical liberal politician whose number one goal in life is to constantly and at all times climb the ladder of power. And you could see that this is her opportunity to seize on an opportunity to skip several rungs of the power ladder and go way up there.
When you're on chutes and ladders and you actually jump over one to slide to a whole nother level.
Right.
Instead of actually so she slides down like a roller coaster that shoots her to the top.
Yeah, it's like the chain on the roller coaster. It's going to get her up there.
Right.
Without even trying.
Nope.
And you could sense it in her voice that this is her time. Her time.
Yes. Yes.
What is the, yeah, I mean, you know what? And it's so typical. It's not her. It's every communist / liberal / progressive. You could see it and hear it with Hillary Clinton.
Oh yeah. They've finally given me the torch. I've worked for this torch for 20 years and I was promised that once it's handed to me, that it would be my turn to then rule and reign with the torch in hand.
Over my subjects. And as Hannity would say, what have you done? Have you accomplished anything?
Right.
He's been asking everybody he could find. Name me one thing that she's done that's an accomplishment.
She had a baby.
Okay. All right. I'll give her that. But so did my wife.
She might have good credit.
Might.
I would assume so.
I wouldn't give her any credit.
So you were in a group of contractors?
Yes. So, there was contractors. There were young folks.
Okay.
One of which
Was it diversified?
Yes.
Okay.
But one guy said, "So what do you think of this Baltimore situation?" And this guy, I mean, he was the most typical low information voter you've ever seen. Looked like he was barely 21.
Ooh.
And he looked like he was probably younger, but he had to have been at least 21 since it was an establishment that would only allow for 21 or over. Right. So he says, "Did you guys hear about what those cops did to that guy? That Freddie Gray guy?" And we're like, everybody was just like, "Whoa, wait a minute. Do you know something we don't know?"
Right.
Because at this point, nobody knew anything to this day. As we're speaking this right now, nobody really knows what the heck happened to him. Even the cops, I don't know if they even know what happened to him.
Really?
I mean, I think the only person who truly knows what happened to himself was Freddie Gray himself. I mean, even the guy in the paddy wagon was like, "Hey, all I know is I heard some banging that sounded like he was banging his head." But how is that supposed to mean that he's doing it to himself? I didn't mean it that way.
Could be.
I'm just saying that it sounded like he was banging his own head on the wall, but that don't mean he was doing it to himself.
It could have been a gopher in there.
He don't even know what the heck's going on. And the cops are probably like, how'd this guy ended up with a severed spinal cord? Because you're saying it was a pre-existing condition.
It's possible.
Meanwhile, we got low information voters across the country, because I extrapolated this. I was like, wait a minute. If this kid is telling me that can you believe what these cops did to this guy? Wait a minute, whoa, you know something I don't know? So then this older gentleman, who later on I found out was a general contractor who listens to Fox News, he actually said this.
He's been indoctrinated by Fox?
Yeah, and when he said this, I looked around like, does he not know that by saying that generally he gets his information by Fox News, that all these low information voters are going to...
He's an outcast.
Well, no, but that everything he says is completely discredited.
Right.
Which is a shame, because they're the only ones that actually report as journalists should. But anyway, I digress. He said, well, wait a minute, I heard some other things. And so everybody's like, oh yeah, would you? And I knew exactly where he was going to go with this. But he gingerly and carefully pointed out that nobody really knows yet what happened to this guy, except that there were some reports that he may have possibly done this to himself.
Right. But
nobody's really sure yet. And you know what this young low information voter said? Well, did you hear the speech that Freddie Gray's attorney said?
No.
And we're like, I heard. And someone said, yeah, I saw that speech. Well, this attorney got up there and went through meticulous details of what these cops did to him. And I'm listening to this, and I'm like, I'm about to fall out of my chair.
Dude, the lawyer's putting the case on trial to the public,
right,
which is wrong.
But here's what this low information took from that speech. First of all, he said it was a great speech.
Fact.
Great. He said, or he interpreted what Freddie Gray's lawyer said to the media, to the journalists, as if she was an eyewitness to the crimes, and that it happened. That these are the facts. That's the way low information voters are viewing all this going down. That it did happen, and that the proof of it is in the attorney saying it. All you have to do is say that it happened.
And it happened.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, does this kid not realize that this is the attorney's job to say that, and that it has nothing to do with what really happened? It's her job to say it happened and to make the case later on in trial. In trial, she's going to make the case for it happening. And unless she has all the evidence hashed out in court for the jury to say, well, I think she proved it beyond credible doubt, beyond a reasonable doubt that it went down that way, that it didn't happen that way. Come on. So, man, we are screwed.
All
We're
right.
screwed.
Well, I've got a couple of sound bites we need to start getting through.
Yeah.
But I've got one, and I've seen him before on Fox News. Fox News again.
Well, you just discredited yourself.
Judge Alex Ferrer on Fox and Friends. He's really solid. He's a judge now, and he used to be a law enforcement officer. And I couldn't help but putting him on because of his takeaway from all of this. They pulled him up and they questioned him and said, "So what is your reaction to the charges?" So the charges were laid out, and as soon as the charges were laid out, then they went immediately to all these different pundits and analysis to get their take on it. And this is what the Judge Alex Ferrer's take was on what had just aspired.
I'd say I'm a little surprised because we obviously don't know all the facts. I thought that once she said they found probable cause, that we were going to hear that either they had evidence that the officers had intentionally beat Mr. Gray, or that they had given him that what's so-called rough ride where they intentionally shake the van around to injure him while he's not buckled in, which certainly would be grounds for criminal charges. But as I listened to the probable cause statement, I didn't hear anything that would justify a claim of second-degree murder, which requires a specific state of mind. I did hear allegations that might rise to the level of manslaughter. It depends on the definition of manslaughter in Maryland. I will tell you this, as police officers, many times when you arrest somebody, they claim they're in pain, they claim they can't breathe, they claim all kinds of things. Very often it's so that you'll lighten up on them. For example, if you have somebody in an arm bar, I've had somebody I was arresting in an arm bar and I was getting ready to handcuff them, and they start yelling about their arm, you're breaking my arm. And as soon as I released, the guy pulled his arm out and started fighting me again. So police officers are used to people complaining and saying that they can't breathe and all that. Obviously, in some situations it turns out to be true. In this case, I don't know if he had asthma or what, but it turned out that it may be something that affected him, although I don't see the connection between that and a broken spinal cord.
Yes, somebody said that he had asthma and he couldn't breathe.
Oh, let me tell you something.
Do we have to go over this
I'm a wrestling coach. I'm a wrestling coach, and this is just nonstop. Here's the thing about when you're arresting somebody and you don't have them cuffed yet, you don't have them secured, and you have to fight them. And what I mean fight, I mean, by not fighting, that would mean that I could put the handcuffs on you without even touching you. That's not fighting.
Right.
If I say, put your hands behind your back so that I can put these handcuffs on, and I don't even have to touch you, that's not fighting. Anything in addition to me giving you a verbal command to do it, I would consider that to be the definition of fighting or resisting arrest. If somebody is resisting, then I would hold the arm bar, which all that is like a chicken wing.
Right.
And I would hold that and give as much pressure as needed to secure the handcuffs until they're handcuffed.
Right.
And if they're saying, ow, my arm, you broke my arm, my arm's broke, I would be like, well, wait a minute. If your arm's broke, then why is it so hard for me to get it back?
Because it's pretty loose.
Oh, let me tell you something. When somebody breaks their arm, you can no longer exert any force whatsoever.
Not only that, but
so I'm criticizing this guy.
Oh,
how do you let up just because he said he broke my arm?
Well, I think that might have been an early story early on in his career.
Oh, so he was young, dumb, and now he learned his lesson.
Judge. He's a judge. He used to be in law enforcement. He said early on,
Yeah. Now you just here's the thing: if I'm given force to put this guy's arm behind his back because he's resisting,
right,
and he's screaming, "Ow, ow, ow! I'm hurt," my initial reaction is, well, why don't you not fight me here?
Obama had an answer for why this all went down.
Oh, because why?
During a press conference with the Japanese Prime Minister Shizu.
Oh, he's going to America bash.
Well, he's with the Prime Minister of Japan.
So he's going to tell the Prime Minister how bad America is.
There's a bunch of my agenda that would make a difference right now. In that, calling for more funding for early education, criminal justice reform, and job training. I'm under no illusion that under this Congress we're going to get massive investments in urban communities. It's important to work together to improve communities. We need to pay attention to these communities with a CVS Burns, but rather work together to tackle poverty around the nation. What I've tried to do is promote those ideas that will make a difference. But I think we all understand that politics is tough because it's easy to ignore those problems or to treat them as a law and order issue as opposed to a broader social issue. He claimed
it is a social issue
that the Republicans are holding back money in Congress to the urban communities. The Republicans in Congress are holding back money in the urban communities, and that's why this is happening.
All right, first of all, yes, it's absolutely a social issue. The more communism and socialism and progressivism that you teach or promote in anywhere, whether it's inner city or the country, and the reason that they haven't gotten to the rural areas is because these people can't buy it. They experience too much real life to ever buy into the lies that is communism, socialism, progressivism. But as long as you're teaching those people in anywhere in the whole country that is the way to go, you're going to have these problems. You're going to have people that hate the cops, that are going to fight the cops, that don't agree with law and order, and that think they need to agitate in the city. So there's that. Second thing, did you hear about the news this week about the war on poverty, which is what he's talking about? Mm-hmm. He's talking about funding for the inner city to afford, whether it be for early education or social programs in order to fight poverty and all that kind of stuff. The news this week is that since the 60s, when the war on poverty started, America has spent $33 trillion.
And the percentage of poverty has gone down dramatically.
We've almost
to
won,
1%.
Right?
We've almost won, right? We're done,
it's
right?
Almost done. We've almost signed the treaty with poverty.
Right, the Treaty of Versailles.
For full surrender.
So full surrender. So we are down to almost zero.
We're on the... What is that aircraft carrier that McCarthy was on, and they were gonna? It was MacArthur,
yeah.
General MacArthur, and he was gonna do this. Isn't that ironic? Here he is in Japan. Wow, and we're signing a treaty to end the war on poverty, right? We have a full, unconditional surrender of poverty, right? No.
What?
It's the opposite.
What are you talking about?
We have lost.
Where did all the money go?
Well, towards social programs that actually increase poverty.
What?
Yes, that's the whole...
Well, why would they make a program that makes poverty?
Because, and listen up for everybody listen, I don't care if you're a high information voter, low information voter, you need to know this. Democrats need... Brian's over here sniffing glue. He picked the wrong day to stop sniffing glue. Woo! No, okay, no. It's serious. On a serious note, it's important as a progressive leader, politician, or dictator to increase poverty to their maximum levels in order to have a cause to run on.
Oh, right.
So they need to maximize the suffering and the poverty. And you're probably thinking, "Oh, come on, Kerry, come on." They're obviously fighting it, and their goal is to end it. Hell no. Do not think for 1 second. If poverty ended, their socialism and communism, it would all just end. Their power would go away. There would be no need for their leadership anymore.
Well, I mean, that's what Rush says all the time about Al Sharpton.
Oh, yeah. He'd be out of a job.
Think about it. If there was nothing for Al Sharpton to rail against, I mean,
and that goes more along the lines of racism. If he could end racism, he would be out of a job. So it's important to drum up as much racism as possible. Did you see that quote by Booker T. Washington from 100 years ago?
I'll tell you. Booker T. Washington was taught to me in school to be on the wrong side of the fight for equality, if you will. I was taught that Booker T. Washington was for the man and not the black man. And it's unbelievable how I was sold that bill of goods, and I bought into it until I started to read for myself and find out for myself how right and how real Booker T. Washington was with the things that he said and the things that he wrote. Former slave, self-educated, very intelligent, on top of the political world, if you will, back in the day. During E.B. Du Bois, they were kind of a little bit of opposites. E.B. was more, I'm not saying he was more of an Al Sharpton, but it seemed that he was had more animosity and more anger versus Booker T. Washington, who said, regardless of your race, your creed, your color, keep your nose down to the grindstone, work as hard as you possibly can, you will get rewarded for it.
Yeah, and the quote I'm talking about with regards to this story is, there is a certain class of race problem solvers who don't want the patient to get well, the patient being the people that are suffering from the racism. Because as long as the disease holds out, they will have not only an easy means of making a living, but also an easy medium through which to make themselves prominent before the public. That pretty much describes Al Sharpton perfectly, and this was stated long before Al Sharpton was even born.
Right.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Rush was saying this week that this stuff never changes. And I'm not talking about this only. Everything. Every single story in the news this week, every bit of it is a repeat of not only what has happened maybe 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago, but also has been repeated from 30, 40, 50 years ago, 60, all the way 100 years ago.
This is going to blow your mind. This is ironic that you said that. I tried to get a clip of my pastor today at church. They post their stuff up on their website, bridgetownchurchofchrist.com, and his opening to the service was quite strange because it had nothing to do with the service.
Really?
When he opens the service, he'll say something and then pray over the message that he's going to give. That he gives the message right and that he doesn't get in the way. But before he did that, dude, he went on a rant.
Okay.
He said between the earthquake in
Nepal.
Nepal, I was going to say Tibet, Nepal and Kathmandu, to what's going on in Baltimore, and he turned his hand a little bit. He said something about the injustice, and I started to clench. I clenched. But he was real vanilla about it. And then he dipped into the fact that this has been going on for thousands of years.
So we're not just talking hundreds.
He's saying thousands because if you go all the way back, and he gave examples, and I'll have this next week for you folks, but he gave examples. He said, back in this time, this was going on, and the hate and the race and the homosexuality, and this was being debated back then, and this was being debated back then. And so all this violence was going on, and this and that, and the back and forth with the evil and the good. However, he painted a picture, and he said there's one constant throughout all of time, and that's the church. And that everybody always, when they get sick and tired of being sick and tired, they know there's one place they can always go back to get that healing, if you will, and that's the church. And he said, in this time, you're never going to be able to correct the wrongs or the right. You're never going to be able to... You can't fix earthquakes. They're always going to be there. You can't fix the Obamas. They're always going to be there. You can't undo all these... The only person who can undo all these things would be God. And when he does undo them all, that means we now have accomplished the full cycle, and we're now in the Garden of Eden. Again. So I've come to this realization. I've been working on this for a couple of months now, because I know we're doing the show to fight all this, but I don't really think we're fighting it. We're not at a fight. And Glenn Beck kind of turned the corner on me a little bit too. He's like, well, civil war is not the way to go. It don't end well. I'm like, you know what? You're right. The fighting and the warring and the Christians to go to war, that's not the way it's going to be. We do this show to hopefully persuade and inform people,
hopefully, yeah,
of what is right. That's all we're doing. All we're doing is we're stating the facts and what is right, and hopefully we can persuade somebody from being sucked into that black hole of badness.
Yeah, I mean, the genesis of this show is definitely, without a doubt, because we talked about it for far too long before we finally pulled the trigger. Right. And what it was that we got to a point where we were fed up with people out there doing kind of like what we're doing, but on in a different medium, which would be more like pop culture medium,
right? And
just completely brainwashing people with the opposite of righteousness, right. Everything wrong that's actually destroying society and all that. And the genesis of this show is that we had to push back on that.
Right.
We could no longer wait.
And so, even Rush says this all the time. He said he's amazed by how many new people come to his show on a regular basis, and how that's the whole basis for this. We're not going to fix this. We can't possibly, and you sitting there in the audience listening, understand your frustration is because you want to fix it. You can't fix it.
Yeah, there's always going to be people in prison.
Right.
There's always going to be people that do the things.
Corrupt power.
Yeah, and I wish there was a system. There's no way we're ever going to have a system that prevents anybody from ever having to get arrested and go to jail and break laws.
Because if we did, we would be in heaven. Or literally, it would be the perfect world.
Or in anarchy.
Well, right, with the gates open free.
Yeah, sure, yeah. So there's that. There's always going to have to be rules that you're never going to get everybody to sign on to every rule. And those that decide, well, I don't care what your rules are, I'm going to break them, are going to end up having to go to prison or be pushed out. Like there's the argument with the Trail of Tears.
Oh.
Where the Indians got pushed out off of what we now call the United States all the way to reservations out. Initially it was off the United States west. They kept getting pushed west until we took over all the way to the Pacific Ocean, and then they're just on reservations throughout the country or whatever.
However, watch the movie America, the story.
Which I have to still see that, but
it's on Netflix.
Okay, my interpretation of the Trail of Tears, which was just one incident in a hundreds of years situation between European settlers and Indians.
Right.
But they're two cultures that can't work together. You got these European Enlightenment people that come to America to try to form a perfect union or a more perfect union, an attempt to, and their ideas to make a perfect union are at complete odds with the culture of the Native Americans, Indians, whatever. And the only way to rectify that is to either say, hey, join us and follow our rules, or you can't be here.
Right.
And that's what it pretty much boiled down to. And of course, they said, what? Excuse me? We're going to fight you for this land. And so there was wars for years and years. And just so happened that the European settlers won.
Right.
And
well, the Mexican-American War, the Americans won and owned all of the entire country of Mexico and took everything, owned it all, and I guess in some, I don't know, afterthought, felt guilty about it and gave what is now Mexico, gave that all back to Mexico.
Yeah, and the reason, for those of you wondering, why couldn't the Indians have their culture and us have our culture? Because you can't have two people living in the same area, in the same vicinity, where one people have very strict property rights.
And another people have zero property rights.
Absolutely
zero.
No property rights.
Right.
And here's the thing. You can make an argument, and I would be in total agreement with you, that each of these cultures are fine. There's nothing wrong with a culture that has no property rights. And there's nothing wrong with a culture that does have property rights. Where you go wrong is when you try to have them living side by side. It just will not work.
No.
And so war is inevitable in this situation. But anyway, I got off on a tangent.
Okay. So the mayor of Baltimore came out and said, I worked with police and instructed them to do everything that they could to make sure that the protesters were able to exercise their right to free speech. It's a very delicate balancing act, because while we tried to make sure that they were protected from the cars and the other things that were going on,
yeah, that sounds good.
We also gave those who wished to destroy space to do that as well.
Wait, what? Did she misspeak? What happened? Did she just say she gave the vandals space to destroy?
To do that as well, yeah.
Oh, did she leave a verb or a noun out, and that's the way I'm interpreting it? I misinterpreted?
That's a direct quote.
Oh, my. So, yeah.
City of Baltimore is run by headless leaders of
completely morons,
socialist sympathizers. Look at all these cities and all these cities across America that are completely in utter chaos and destruction, and look who has run them for the last 30 and 40 years. I turned on the movie again earlier today for the kids, America, the story, Imagine a World Without Her, and they do this one clip where they go through Detroit. They show the black and white video of Detroit from
a long time ago,
from thousands of years ago.
Okay.
from 40, 50 years ago.
Okay.
And they put out the numbers and the statistics that Detroit was the richest city in all the entire world.
Well, because weren't all American auto industry all in Detroit?
Yeah.
The big three,
all of them.
They were all there.
All of them. It was literally the richest city in the world at one time. And now, the video cameras sweep street to street to street to street. And it is in utter ruins. It is a third world nation.
Almost a ghost town.
Complete ruins. It's so bad that if you own a house in Detroit City and the houses next to you, adjacent to you, and across the street from you are vacant,
which 99% of the time is the case,
the city will sell that property to you for $1.
Yeah, but what if you don't have $1?
You could refi with an adjustable arm. Oh, you must sell out your seat. I'm going to sell out your seat.
Oh, you got to refinance. Because here's the problem. You're probably underwater. Your house is only worth $1. So anyway, yeah, and here's what I always tell people about communist cities in general, or countries too. In order for and by the way, Detroit turned into a communist city when the unions took over all the auto workers.
And the unions took over the local city and planted themselves in the different arms and
right and
politics for taxes and rules and regulations and
so it was full-blown communism in Detroit.
Right.
The reason it worked, number one, the reason it got there in the first place was through free market capitalism. with Henry Ford setting up shop
So capitalism built it up, built this beautiful budding flower and blooming.
And then
The communists come in with the poison.
But it didn't collapse right away. Here's what happens with communism, why sometimes you can point to instances where it works very well. And the reason is you have to have a massive export, which in the case of Detroit, they were massively exporting cars. And people all over the entire globe were buying millions of cars, pumping out
hundreds of millions.
Hundreds of millions of cars, not just in the United States, all over the world. You could find Chevys and Fords in every country almost in the world just about, and they were all coming out of Detroit. And so that massive export allowed for communism to actually work for a while. And why it didn't work long term is because, number one, in general, rule of thumb, communism always fails given a long enough time frame, because here's why: at some point that free money tree, if you will, which was the
gets stifled.
The auto industry. Oh no, it dries up eventually, and it turns out
it wouldn't have to dry up if you nurtured it, but they rape it.
Right.
Continually. I mean, every new car that you buy that's built by a union worker, look at the price tag. It's a $20,000 car. $2,500 of that $20,000 car will be going to pension plans.
Oh, that was the big problem with the bailouts and stuff like that. They had the bailout pension.
How is it that every car you buy, $2,500 goes to the pension?
And how can they compete against new startup or different auto companies that don't have to tack on another $2,500?
Why do you think that Toyota and Honda both moved to America to become American-made? You can buy an American-made Toyota and an American-made Honda in a non-union plant.
Right, and believe me, those unions, those communists are desperately trying to infiltrate that.
When I said last week, the unions were run out of Dodge because the workers in North Carolina for the Boeing plant met the union representatives with guns and told them to get out of Dodge.
There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Hey, let's get some of these sound clips real quick, and we'll wrap this up real fast.
Let me finish up. I don't know what kind of sound clips you have. The Baltimore sound clips.
Yeah.
Okay, because this is really important.
Oh,
this is
okay.
We're still on the timeline of what happened. The cops.
Right.
This is okay. So initially, my initial reaction is oh gosh, here we go with another Ferguson. Right, the Michael Brown.
Well, they're invoking the name Ferguson, by the way, and they're also invoking the white Hispanic.
Oh, the Zimmerman thing. Okay, so here's what the MO is. The MO is let's falsely accuse the power, paint them as being white, even though they may not be. If they're cops, they're white as far as the low information voters are concerned.
Right.
Let's paint them as criminals, paint them as murdering unarmed, innocent black people, even though they may not be innocent at all. Let's paint them as innocent. Let's paint them as unarmed, which in most cases they are unarmed. And let's go ahead and turn this into a riot. And so it seemed like, oh gosh, here we go again with Baltimore. So my initial thought is the cops are innocent until they're proven guilty with me, because
right, me too.
Yeah. Well,
not the case here.
May not be. And I'll tell you what, they're in trouble, because what they reported was 3 stops between picking up.
Oh, right.
They reported 3 stops. They picked him up. That's stop 1. Stop 2, they picked up the guy with
stole the cigarette.
The cigarette. And the 3rd stop was the station to book him. Book him, Danny.
Yeah.
Right?
So the prosecuting attorney said that he was calling out for help during the stop.
One of the stops was they had to stop to put leg irons on him.
Right.
Because he was beating himself up in the car.
Yikes.
Okay, so they had to put leg irons on him.
Right.
And when they put him back on in the car with the leg irons, he still wasn't seat belted. There's no evidence whatsoever that they were rough riding him other than he's got a severed spinal cord now, right?
Right.
That would be the only bit of evidence. I think there would need to be more, considering we have an eyewitness that can testify that while they were not rough riding, he's banging himself in the car.
Well, here, as you know, in Ferguson, we had an eyewitness there, too.
Right, and there's a lot of people lying and all that kind of stuff. So here's where the whole thing comes off the rails. Come to find out, there was a fourth stop that none of the cops reported on. None of them.
Oh.
They're like, wait a minute, you went to all these places, right? I'm like, yep. Did you go anyplace else? Nope. This is all the places we went. Well,
What about the convenience store?
well, turns out there was a big giant parking lot of a big grocery store that's like abandoned.
Okay.
Giant empty parking lot. Giant store that's abandoned.
This is where they beat him.
Well, maybe, maybe not. There's no evidence or proof that they did or didn't, but here's where this is ugly, man. Why would they not divulge that? Why wouldn't they talk about?
So it's come out that they did stop there, but they
And there's
swore they
proof.
did, and they swore they didn't.
And they have video proof from this bodega. This
What?
yes,
The bordello?
yeah, a little convenience store that had a camera outside that shows the cop going there,
no!
the paddy wagon.
Yeah.
But no video of what may or may not have happened at this parking lot. Okay, but proof that they went there and made a stop. So they
Maybe
lied.
they felt that it was so insignificant as not a real stop.
No, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying that they would.
So do you report your lunch break as a stop?
Yes.
Really?
We have a dead body. A guy with a severed spinal.
But he wasn't
spinal
dead
cord.
there in the car.
He had a severed spinal cord and he eventually
Not
died.
not in the van.
Every single.
It was a week later when he died.
Okay, so at some point, it doesn't matter if he died a week later. He's in the hospital with a severed spinal cord. Why would you? Why would you say
that stinks? That's no good, man.
Yeah, not
That's
good,
not
not
good.
good. And now there's been rumblings that this rough riding thing and abuses are reported as common in Baltimore.
All right, well, let me play a clip of my guy.
All right, let's hear it.
This is the Milwaukee sheriff.
What does he have nothing to do with? Never mind.
Let me tell you what. Never mind. They are. Fox News loves David Clark,
Who's that?
Milwaukee sheriff.
Oh, they love him, huh?
He's black,
Okay.
real chiseled jaw,
Kind of like
plain talker.
he's a plain talker.
He talks. He says it like it is, and it is what I say. I say it what it is.
So he's like Booker T. Washington.
A little bit,
Okay.
yeah, no, absolutely. This was just something that he was caught as saying in generality, talking about this entire situation.
Like Baltimore, like Ferguson, like New York, and many other areas where failed liberal government policies have led to high unemployment, chronic poverty, failing schools. This is what besets the Baltimore area. 90% of the homicide victims in the Baltimore area are black, and as are 90% of the suspects. That's a bigger problem than Freddie Gray. And I'm not trying to dismiss the death of Freddie Gray, but these individuals that are rioting and looting right now and throwing rocks and bottles do not know Freddie Gray, do not care about Freddie Gray, and if they were in a nightclub in Baltimore, would shoot and kill him for bumping into them on the dance floor.
Whoa. So clearly, based on what he said, that guy's white. Clearly.
Right.
But you're saying he's African American. Black.
I don't know if he's from Africa. I don't know that.
He could have ancestries that date back to Africa.
Could have ancestries that date back to South America.
Oh, it's possible. And before that?
Europe?
Before that?
When all the continents were one?
Oh, right. That was called Pandora? Or
when Pandora's box opened?
Okay, so this guy's clearly based on what liberals would interpret as being an Uncle Tom.
Oh boy, and there is more. He was on with Neil Cavuto, and Neil Cavuto asked him, so this Mosby, think she's going to be able to prove these charges? This is what he said.
We have a long way to go, but I still believe in our system of justice, and in the end, justice will prevail. She doesn't get the final say in this. She knows she's not going to be able to prove all of these charges beyond a reasonable doubt. This is George Zimmerman and the Duke LaCrosse case all over again. A politically active district attorney or state's attorney. You could tell the emotion in her voice. She almost did this with glee. And that's why I believe, like they do, when I say they, the officers union and the attorney that we just heard from, she needs to remove herself from this case. I hope the state's attorney general gets involved in this and sees the error of her ways. The smart thing for her to do is to recuse herself and name a special prosecutor.
Well, there you have it, folks.
I mean,
wow. He phrased it a little different. He said she said this with glee. She's just like, oh my gosh, the camera's on me, the whole world's watching. Let's do this.
Yeah. It is.
She don't care about Freddie Gray. She only cares about herself.
Right.
And peace and justice.
Right.
And justice, and I hear your calls for no justice, no peace.
No justice, no peace.
That's right. They don't want justice. They want no justice.
And my wife, I was talking about,
and no peace.
I know. I was talking to my wife about this, and she's like, asked me questions. When is this all going to end? When's it going to be over? I'm like, no.
quarter past never.
No, Obama is extremely happy.
Oh, he's like, this is perfect.
When there's chaos and destruction. He's extremely happy when the right-wing Christian conservatives are all up in arms and angry and hating on him. So whenever there is all this strife, the more strife and the more angst and the more anger, it's like the school bully. The more he can pass people off, the funnier he thinks he is and the happier he is. That's what this all... It's all of this. That's what this is.
I mean, Rahm Emanuel, he
never let a crisis go to waste.
He really opened up a window, a door, or shined light on their agenda that nobody ever knew. It was like, you know what it was? It was like the motto of a secret society that's supposed to be so secret. Like, you do the secret handshake to get in the door, and then you do the oath, and you swear to never divulge the secrets of our secret society. And Rahm Emanuel, after all these years of all this society, or
right,
the secret society people being able to keep it secret, Rahm Emanuel goes, "Hey guys, I'm going to go ahead and divulge what we talked about at our meeting that you don't know about." Right. Never let a crisis go to waste, and everybody's like, "Whoa!
You're not supposed to tell
that." Oh no, we gotta shut him up. He just let the cat out of the bag.
You know what they said? Right after he said that, you know what they said?
Agent Hurley, I want you to give this scumbag a cavity search. I'm talking roto-rooter. Don't stop till you reach the back of his teeth.
Oh, they had to shut him up. They gave him... Didn't they give him the Chicago?
True, that is
guys,
Chicago.
How about this? If you just shut up from here on out and never repeat that ever again, I'm going to give you Chicago real quick. I mean, sign all these documents saying that we'll go ahead and make you disappear.
Yeah.
Disappear into a big pile of concrete.
This is Dookie.
Dookie.
Pile him up in concrete.
Yeah, well, we're going to make a bridge with you.
And the pillar.
Right. The pillar. Yep. So he said, oh, well, I'll go ahead and take... We have two choices for you. You could take the pillar or you could take Chicago.
I'll take the pillar.
Yeah, what?
I'll take Chicago.
Oh,
of course.
You would make.
Hey, speaking about that, this week Obama announced that his presidential library will be stationed in Chicago.
Oh, and I went ahead online and wrote a nice little, quick little article on the message board, the comments section.
Okay.
Of my suggestions of where it should be.
In hell?
Well, if they could build it there, I guess. He's an atheist, so hell doesn't exist. It's just dirt nap for them.
Oh, okay.
No, but some of my suggestions were Connecticut,
Yeah.
The reason Connecticut is because that is where the individual was born that has the social security number that the current president is using.
Yikes.
So it could be argued that maybe he was born in Connecticut.
Okay,
maybe.
fair enough.
Or at least the person whose identity he stole was born in Connecticut.
Well, that's a common thing nowadays. Happens all the time.
Yeah,
Better get LifeLock.
Yeah, that needs to happen. The other one was Kenya, because that's where all the residents of Kenya claim Obama was born.
Right.
So there's that one.
His family's Muslim.
Yeah. The other one was Mecca.
Oh, shining towards Mecca. Yeah.
No, actually in Saudi Arabia, because he clearly is not only has slipped up and actually said that he is of Muslim faith, but all Muslims say, well, we know he's Muslim.
Right.
Because by law, you're born
right.
by a Muslim. He went to Muslim schools when he was in Kenya. So, I mean, you could have those locations. I know there was one other one that I thought of that I wrote in my little comment that is slipping my mind right now. But those would be the top ones. Chicago, I don't know. So that's where it's going to be? Chicago?
That's what they're saying, yeah.
Wow.
Check this out real quick. This might be kind of interesting. Chuck Todd. Remember I
Chuck Todd.
Preference that I had a little clip. He's talking with a woman by the name of April Ryan, who is a author of a book called Problems in Major American Cities.
Uh-oh.
Healing the Divide.
Okay.
And she works with, or her title is, American Urban Radio Networks.
Okay. This is not sounding good.
What is it? You got a black woman from American Urban Radio Networks.
Okay.
You should have gotten somebody from Smith Radio.
Yeah, that we would definitely be of service.
So he's discussing with her about Obama and whether he should show up to Baltimore or not.
I would think
Make
yes.
his presence known.
Well, because you don't want to let a crisis go to waste, so he needs to utilize that. But I think he's doing that behind closed doors anyway.
So this is the mainstream media. Well, maybe not anymore. This is what is attempting to stay mainstream, and this is the horrendous things that they're promoting. So here's F. Chuck.
You've written a book about the presidency in black and white, you call it. We have America's first African-American president.
Yes.
Didn't go to Ferguson.
Right.
Didn't go to Sanford.
North Charleston.
Didn't go to North Charleston. And they have said they're not going to Baltimore. It's always, well, we'll get in the way. We don't want to be... that image, though, wouldn't that be a powerful image if he's walking the streets of inner city Baltimore?
That would be a mighty powerful image. But Chuck, they never definitively said that they would not go. They said they wanted to assess the situation and make sure that the condition was safe. And any time that you bring a president in, you take away the policing from the community. But I will say this. I do believe that President Obama should go to Baltimore. And the reason why I say that, President Obama was the president. This is going to be a legacy piece for him.
Right.
He was the president who started talking about this even in his first term. We kind of got a glimpse of it with Henry Louis Gates, with that situation with the racial profiling issue that he talked about, and there was a subsequent beer summit. But let's move to Trayvon Martin. The My Brother's Keeper was an outgrowth of what happened with Trayvon Martin. And then let's move down some more to other cities, North Charleston, Ferguson, Baltimore. I mean, Baltimore's so close, but yet so far, 40 miles away, and this is happening. I do believe President Obama should go, and it sends a powerful message, because there are going to be more of these situations, and I think people really need to know that the leader of this country is there.
I have no idea what to think of that. I mean, they're totally wrong about all that. Even the beer summit, his initial reaction in the beer summit was that the cop behaved badly.
Okay.
Without any evidence other than, well, it's a cop.
Right.
It's a cop and there's a victim. So, obviously, the cop behaved badly. Duh.
Right.
No, you're wrong about that. You rushed to judgment. And he did that with the Trayvon Martin thing, where he was absolutely wrong about that.
If I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon.
He's totally wrong about his initial reaction to that. I mean, he's wrong about everything. Hannity points it out. He calls him the 5-time loser president because of all the times where he chose a side and was totally dead wrong about it.
Well, I mean, you could go down a list of all the times it's been wrong, from Solyndra to Ferguson.
Right, and so this woman talking to F. Chuck Todd is just... It's like we need to keep these low-information voters misinformed at all times. So I'm going to talk about these issues as if it was one way when it's actually a lie, so that I can keep the low-information voters misinformed.
Right.
And it's just irritating, and it's the reason why we're on here at Smith Radio, to try to combat these liars from misinforming you.
We're never going to correct the wrong. There's bad out there, and there's always going to be bad out there. You can't undo that. And you can't control other people either. They're going to do what they're going to do. However, you can get your mind right and understand what is real and what is fact, and hopefully spread that to other people as well. Hopefully, if we can connect to 2 or 3 people, and those 2 or 3 people connect to another 2 or 3, the ripples in the water, that effect could be tremendous.
We should have a summer camp for kids starting in June, right after school gets out, and we'll call it Re-Education Camp. It won't be like the gulags. It won't be like that.
You know, that's funny you say that, because...
But we gotta re-educate the kids from all the crap that they were, all the communist indoctrination that they got from the school for the 9 months. Should have like a 1 or 2 week thing where we talk about all the complete... Not only do we talk about the examples of lies that they learned through Common Core, but also throw out there what they should be learning, the proper things they should be learning, that are the truth.
Right.
Yeah, we should do that. You ready for re-education?
I was Googling.
It's got to be a tongue-in-cheek thing.
There was something that came up maybe about a year or 2 ago, and it was
I think it can be
Kids for Obama, or Obama's camp.
That's not good.
And it was directly related. It was like, wow, this is exactly what Hitler started.
Right. Well, and that's what I'm not saying, because my opinion is kind of like the founders of the country and all those in the Enlightenment period, like the John Locke's and all that, who felt like the government should be there. Leaders of nations should be assembled to do just a few things, real simple things. Everybody else, you got to live your life in freedom to pursue happiness and enjoy your property that you've earned through labor and all that kind of stuff. But the leaders of nations should be there to protect people's rights. And the rights are the God-given rights of, freedom of religion, freedom of speech.
It's something I think that's missing, is the fact that you need to let people be.
And that's just not happening anymore.
Let people make their own decisions, so be it, and that's how you learn to be stronger. By making your own... making decisions is like a muscle. If you don't ever make a decision, you have a weak muscle. The more decisions you make, the stronger that muscle becomes, and the better decisions you make.
Oh, I got a kind of along that line. I'm as you're saying that, I'm thinking, are we, with our children, making them make decisions to help them to work that muscle?
I'm trying.
And this is kind of unrelated, but it made me realize, because this just happened today. We're at the car show, and there's a playground nearby. It's probably about 100 feet away from the cars. And I wanted to look at the cars, and she wanted to play on the playground. And I said, why don't you just go over there by yourself? She wouldn't do it. She was too scared.
Wow.
She was scared to go 100 feet away from the car show I was at and play on the playground by herself. It wasn't that she didn't want to do it because she was going to do it by herself and be bored. She was afraid to do it because maybe she would be stolen or kidnapped or something like that, or something bad could happen and she needed her daddy nearby to protect her. And I felt something wrong with that. I was thinking of those 6-year-olds that were walking the streets to the park by themselves doing the free-range parenting.
Oh, well,
and
you
all
can
that.
go to jail for that nowadays.
Yeah, maybe I could have been hauled off to prison today by letting her play in the playground. But anyway, I don't know.
Hey, so do you have a lightning round this week at all?
I thought we were kind of doing that, but okay. In Second Amendment news today,
yes.
Man shoots and kills would-be carjacker outside of a store.
Yep.
Well, turns out, guy was trying to carjack this woman, and you would think, oh, what? The woman pulled a gun out and shot him? No, somebody nearby saw what was happening and ran up, shot the guy. He ended up dying, and the guy had a concealed weapons permit, and killed the guy who was trying to pull the woman out of the car. I guess the woman was hanging on or fighting it or whatever, and so that's going to cause controversy. Why should somebody be allowed to run up and kill somebody like that? What do you think, Brian?
I think he was trying to defend and protect an innocent woman. I've got no problem with it whatsoever.
Well, the question then becomes, is it okay to take somebody's life over a couple $1,000 vehicle?
It's not the monetary value that you're taking his life over. It's the possibility of him injuring or killing somebody else.
Yeah, because I guess in the attempt to pull her out and her attempt to fight it, he could, I guess, shimmy his way into the driver's seat and end up rolling over her. Because I mean, you imagine a car it could possibly be in motion at the time.
2,000-pound chunk of metal.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was moving or not. That's not the point. I guess it would change the dynamics of the story if it was still in park or not even started yet. It could not. Maybe the keys weren't even in the ignition. Could have been parked. I don't know. I just said that trying to carjack a woman. Normally, when you think of a carjack, you think of that the woman's in the driver's seat and
they say that in carjackings, when you're pulling up to a stop sign or a light and somebody pulls a gun out on you, they say in all carjackings, not one report have they ever filed to where a carjacking where somebody drove off was ever shot.
Interesting.
So if you are approached by a carjacker, drive off, chances are you'll never be shot.
Well, now it's saying, I'm reading here, that the man told the police that he went to assist the woman, and the male suspect, who's now dead, lunged at him in an attempt to grab his gun.
Whoa!
And at that point, it's
all over with.
It's time to. He should have just ran. Yeah. Whatever. But
you know how that goes.
And
there weren't any cops around, so he could have ran away.
He probably could have got away. Yeah. And if the guy ended up shooting him as he was running away, then he would be facing murder charges. Right. But so there's definitely an investigation going on, and if justice is served, this guy will get off with no charges. But we don't. Who knows? There's going to be an investigation, and if it turns out in the investigation that there was laws broken, then I'm sure somebody's going to get charged. But it doesn't sound like any laws were broken based on the preliminary report.
Joe Biden this week handing Loretta Lynch the throne, the torch, the candle, said that that everything is awesome and great because she is cut from the same cloth as Eric Holder,
who should be in prison right now. No doubt about it. There's no questions. There's no controversy. There's no anything other than a clear-cut case of a man who's broken the laws and has violated the civil rights of so many thousands of people in America, and able to do so by abusing the power that was given to him, that there's no doubt in my mind that justice could only be served with him in prison. And here we have a woman who is cut from the same cloth as the criminal Eric
Right.
Holder.
Right.
It's scary.
Right.
It's scary. I'm sure she's listening into, not only listening into our show right now, but probably listening into all of our cell phone conversations, probably hacked into our computers, and will use any of the evidence she finds on any of that stuff to sick the IRS and the CIA against us.
Speaking of that, my last bit of piece, the last thing I have for tonight, 35,000 emails of Lois Lerner's have been found this week.
Oh, really? That's good.
35,000 emails from Lois Lerner of the hard drive that was crashed,
That she
burned and
buried
crashed
into
and
a
buried.
pillar, into a concrete pillar somewhere.
Right.
That thing, when you find that server, you
They've
will
been
find
found.
Jimmy Hoffa.
They've been found.
Together. Where's Jimmy Hoffa? Let's go put it wherever he is.
Put it where the sun don't shine.
Oh, wow. Woo! Well, we didn't talk about how much time do we have? A little bit.
We're at the end of our rope.
Because gay marriage is being talked about at the Supreme Court. That's major news.
Right. Scalia made a joke about it, and the Christian Coalition said, "Mark our words, we will march."
Oh, and the thing about the right, whether it's conservative, Christian, libertarian, whatever, is they just really haven't gotten to that point yet where they're ready to stand up and take action the way the left has all these years.
Well, they have, but media doesn't cover it ever. Like the abortion walk every year on Capitol, on the White House, on the Capitol lawn. Hundreds of thousands of women walk every year in the winter.
And I don't even know. And I don't even know that.
In the winter.
Why don't I know that? Because the media is suppressing that from all of us. But the gay marriage thing, I guess it's good that it's gotten to the Supreme Court, I guess.
Shouldn't be debated in the Supreme Court. Shouldn't even be decided amongst the government.
I'm
the government
just hoping,
shouldn't have anything to do with it.
Well, no, they could rule that. They could rule, hey, look, who are we to... And that's what one of them has already said. Scalia said, who are we to redefine marriage?
Right.
And I just hope that it comes down... The thing that scares me about the Supreme Court is the scariest thing in the entire nation. They are the one small group of people of 9 people? Small group
wield so much power.
Well, they're the ones. They are the one group of 9 people who can truly end what the founders put together. I mean, it's pretty much ended already. For the most part,
and I think the life appointment should be changed as well. But
I don't really have a problem with it. But here, I don't understand why there should be a way to get rid of them. The people should have an ability.
Yeah, you should.
And the reason is because there are people on the Supreme Court. There are Supreme Court justices who should. Absolutely, they are not in the right place. And here's the proof. Proof is right here. How can you have cases that time after time after time get voted 5-4, the 5 conservatives voting the opposite way of the 4 liberals, or i.e. communists, on so many cases? I mean, how could they not be more clear-cut? The Supreme Court should be able to interpret the law and come down almost unanimously every time. They should be able to come down to either 9-0 or maybe 8-1 or 7-2.
Because all they're doing is they're not interpreting the law, but their opinions are based on the Constitution.
But it's not. Apparently,
should be.
Here's the problem with the Supreme Court in the way it is today. There's 5 people on the Supreme Court who are interpreting the issue, or they're judging on the issue based on the interpretation of the law written in the Constitution, and the other 4 are dealing with the issue up for being judged. They're judging on an issue based on the principles in their hearts as written by Karl Marx in the Communist Manifesto.
Right.
It's that simple. And that's why you come down with the 5-4 split vote every single time. Because one's judging it based on Constitution, the other's are judging it on the Communist Manifesto, and those people shouldn't be there. It's a complete farce of our entire system of government when we have moles, 4 moles in the Supreme Court for life, who are going to just completely throw away their life goal is to hopefully one day be able to dismantle the entire Constitution, the entire way of government in the United States, based on their goal there, which is to institute communism in America.
The problem is that I'm the President of the United States. I'm not the Emperor of the United States.
And the thing about Obama wanting to be the emperor, obviously, because it's a problem that he's not, according to him, is that you got 5 or 4 people on the Supreme Court who are there to assist him in that goal. And the reason they want him to be the president, or the emperor, is because he will institute full-blown communism, and he will be the premier of the USSA. The Union of Soviet Socialist America.
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness.
I hope I was clear enough on all that.
I think you were 100%. That was incredible. Thank you, folks, for being with us this week. Join us next week when we give you more of all the medicine that you need to get yourself healthy again. And like Bob Beckel, if you need help, go find it.
Or go something.
Right now.
With unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable. It's without fathom.